Hollywood director 1992. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction. So don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 176 Raising Money to Suppress. 10 million, Richard Gere frowned immediately upon hearing the figure. Celebrity expenses are enormous, especially for big stars. After betting 8 million, he didn't have much money left. Robert Downey Jr. and others were even less, they relied heavily on loans for their bets. Asking them to scrape together 10 million to boost box office numbers would be incredibly difficult. Michael, do we really have to fabricate box office figures? The Sugar Trap is currently at $154 million. In 7 or 8 weeks, it'll be at least $180 million. I think Link's new movie will have a hard time surpassing that, Richard Gere said, puffing on his cigarette. Ovitz said, who can guarantee that? Link's first 3 films all had box office returns of over 1,000 times. Final Destination was his first big project with an investment of over 10 million. If this movie gets a 20-fold return, that's 200 million. 30 times, 300 million. 40 times, 400 million. This guy is very lucky. We have to be strict with him to ensure we win this bet, Richard Gere, thinking of the box office returns Link had previously set, suddenly became very agitated. But 10 million is too much? Most of the money Robert and his team bet came from bank loans. It's hard for them to agree to invest more in promotion, Richard, you need to find a way to convince them. CAA and Paramount Pictures added over 10 million in promotional funds to boost The Sugar Trap's box office. To push the film past 200 million in the next few weeks, we need to invest another 20 to 30 million. We're in a relationship, if we win the bet, we all make money. This portion should be shared proportionally. Also, if The Sugar Trap surpasses 200 million, our chances of winning will increase infinitely, exceeding 99%. Once we beat Link, we'll recoup all our investment, and Link will be the only loser, Ovitz said. Richard Gere understood this, but getting them to come up with another 10 million for box office success was a huge challenge. Ovitz continued, of course, if you think this bet is a sure win and there's no need to continue supporting The Sugar Trap's box office, I'll listen to everyone's opinions and stop paying too much attention to the film, letting the market decide its final box office. If we're lucky, maybe we can win the bet. The specifics are up to you, I'll wait for your news, okay? After hanging up, Richard Gere called Robert Downey Jr. and others, relaying Ovitz's words. When he mentioned needing another $10 million to support The Sugar Trap, Robert Downey Jr., Kiefer Sutherland, and the others said they had no money. The money for the previous bet was borrowed. Investing more would require even more borrowing, and if they couldn't repay, they would all go bankrupt. Richard Gere said Link was a lucky guy, he could acquire a film company and still find a dark horse like The Wedding Banquet. How much his new film would gross, and whether he would continue his luck, was anyone's guess. If they didn't find a way to increase The Sugar Trap's box office now, it would be too late after Link's new film was released. Not only would they lose all their bets, but they would also be humiliated in front of Link. Richard Gere also mentioned that CAA and Paramount Pictures had invested over $10 million extra in promotion and would invest another 20 to 30 million to boost box office revenue. As a group with shared interests, they couldn't just sit back and reap the benefits. Regarding Ovitz's claim of investing over $10 million to inflate the box office of The Sugar Trap, Richard Gere and his group didn't doubt it, because there were many news reports about box office fraud. This must have been Ovitz and his associates doing. Therefore, Ovitz's request for them to invest more was a reasonable demand. Is it necessary to invest more? The Sugar Trap currently has $154 million at the box office, and it will reach $180 million in 7 weeks. Can Link's new movie reach that number? Kiefer Sutherland asked. Richard Gere said, if it were anyone else, we wouldn't be worried, but Link's movies always have a very high box office return rate, so we need to be careful to ensure victory. Incidentally, Richard Gere also mentioned that CAA and Paramount invested tens of millions in the sugar-coating trap, and if they didn't invest, They wouldn't be able to share the prize money if they won. Robert Downey Jr. and others said they would consider it. If additional investment was necessary, they would need some time to secure a loan. Dustin Hoffman indicated he was aligned with Richard Gere and would also participate if Richard Gere invested additional funds. After informing several people, Richard Gere continued to call Tom Cruise to discuss additional investment. Although Tom Cruise was the lead actor in The Sugarcoating Trap and belonged to CAA and Paramount Pictures, his participation in the bet was conducted through them. If funding for The Sugarcoating Trap was to be raised, Tom Cruise would need to contribute money with him. How much more do I need? Tom Cruise asked. Ovitz says we need to raise $10 million. Based on our initial investment ratio, you need to add another $2.4 million. Last time, Tom Cruise initially invested $2 million in a bet, and later, hearing that many people were participating, he added another $3 million, making it $5 million. Based on their total investment, calculating the required investment ratio this time, Tom Cruise needs to add approximately $2.4 million. Upon hearing this number, Tom Cruise frowned. $2.4 million, while not a large sum for him, was still a considerable expense. Including the previous $5 million, he had invested a total of $7.4 million. This was his biggest gamble yet. However, Tom Cruise didn't object to the investment. The Sugar Trap was his film, and a box office hit would benefit him. Besides, he didn't think he would lose to Link. Okay, Richard, I'll transfer the money to you later. After hanging up, Tom Cruise frowned and thought for a moment before calling Ovitz to inquire about promoting The Sugar Trap. He didn't want Ovitz to manipulate the box office figures, as it wasn't necessary. This movie is very good. The reason it hasn't broken $200 million at the box office yet is because the promotion is inadequate. Many viewers weren't attracted by the publicity. As long as we increase the promotion, the box office will definitely be higher. He had enough confidence in the movie. Ovitz agreed with a smile. What's wrong? After Tom Cruise hung up the phone, Nicole Kidman walked over with a face mask on, her figure even more alluring in her form-fitting silk nightgown. Tom Cruise felt a surge of heat at the sight of her hot body, but he quickly restrained himself. He had been too busy with work lately, and had recently been busy in the Paramount president's office. So he didn't have the energy for that kind of thing for the time being. What happened? Nicole Kidman sat down on the sofa opposite him and poured herself a glass of red wine. Tom Cruise had mentioned the additional investment in promoting the movie to ensure it would beat Link at the box office. Nicole Kidman said, "So the news that the Sugar Trap box office is inflated is true?" "No. Paramount Pictures has invested tens of millions in publicity these past few weeks to boost box office numbers and attract more viewers to theaters. It's the same as Link's hype for his film, it's not box office manipulation," Tom Cruise said. Nicole Kidman said, "The Sugar Trap currently has $154 million at the North American box office, and it has a chance to break $200 million in 8 weeks. Isn't $200 million enough to easily beat Link's new movie?" Tom Cruise frowned and said, "Ovitz believes Link's movies have great box office potential. The Sugar Trap needs to gross over $200 million to be guaranteed success. Link's movies have almost never failed at the box office. This movie does indeed have great potential," Nicole Kidman said. HMPH. His movies are all bad. He relies on publicity and hype to trick audiences into theaters. It's nothing special, Tom Cruise said. Yes, Link's movies are bad, but his movies always do well at the box office, Nicole Kidman laughed. Why don't we ask Naomi Watts? She also attended the preview screening of Link's new movie. Ask her what she thinks of it and how much it's going to make at the box office. Tom Cruise was also a little nervous, but after thinking for a moment, he nodded. Nicole Kidman called Naomi Watts to ask her what she thought of the movie. Naomi Watts is British and grew up in Australia. She and Nicole Kidman were classmates in school. However, Nicole Kidman was lucky. After coming to Hollywood, she married Tom Cruise and became a famous Hollywood flower vase actress. Naomi Watts, on the other hand, is currently just a newcomer actress. In Final Destination, Naomi Watts plays the class beauty, Black. After auditioning for the film, she was also signed by United Talent Agency, UTA, and became a junior client. When Nicole Kidman asked, Naomi Watts hesitated and said that she had a confidentiality agreement with the guest the movies and couldn't disclose any information about the film. Naomi, can't I say? Okay, I won't press you. Just tell me, how good is Link's new movie? How much do you predict it will gross? Nicole Kidman said. Naomi Watts hesitated for a moment and said, Link's new movie is great. It's imaginative, funny, the plot is scary, the special effects are amazing, and Link is very good at directing actors. Everyone did a good job in this movie, so, how much do you estimate this movie will gross? Link's movies usually do well at the box office, but I can't be sure exactly how much it will gross, Naomi Watts said hesitantly. Nicole Kidman continued to press, but didn't get any information. The two chatted casually for a few minutes and then hung up. Sounds pretty good. It's still a horror movie, with special effects in depth. The actors' performances are also very good. It looks like this movie might be a big hit, Nicole Kidman said. HMPH. No matter how much his movie grosses, it definitely won't be as good as The Sugar Trap, Tom Cruise sneered. Yes, I believe you. Nicole Kidman sat down next to Tom Cruise and gently took his arm. Tom Cruise smelled her fragrance. And his heart fluttered again, but he was too weak. He waved his hand, got up, and said he was going to his study to read a script. Nicole Kidman removed her face mask and coldly watched his retreating figure. Merry Christmas. Chapter 177 Box Office Dark Horse. Link, what do you think of this script? In the cafe, Renee Zellweger and Sandra Bullock watched him nervously. Link leaned back on the sofa, finishing the script, Speed, in half an hour. Sandra Bullock had given him the script through Renee Zellweger, wanting to know if he was interested. Originally, the script belonged to Paramount Pictures, but due to change in management, it was abandoned and returned to the Mark Gordon Company. The studio planned to finance the film. After reading the script, Sandra Bullock was interested in playing the lead role of Anne, but the film lacked funding, so she didn't get a chance. Furthermore, if the film were funded by another company, she wouldn't be able to land the lead role. She then thought of Link, and through Renee Zellweger, inquired whether the Mark Gordon Company was interested in investing in other films. After receiving a positive answer, she then passed the script to Link through Renee, asking him to take a look. After watching Speed, Link confirmed it was the action film that made Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock famous, with a respectable box office of several $100 million. However, the script he had was vastly different from the movie. This script was clearly copying Die Hard, forcibly incorporating many comedic elements, along with some slapstick and thriller plots. The protagonist, Jake, was arrogant and not a very positive character, making him less likable. The Speed he had seen was a serious action film, with Jake as a responsible and intelligent police officer who strives to protect everyone in times of crisis. The female lead, Annie, wasn't a naive girl either, she was a helpful assistant to the protagonist. If he hadn't seen the original film and only read the script, he wouldn't have invested in it. While it might make money, it wouldn't be much, making it unworthy of investment. Knowing how to revise the script, if Mark Gordon was willing to let him edit it and participate in the film's production, he might agree to invest. The script is terrible, huh? Sandra Bullock was a little disappointed. She thought Link would like this kind of thriller, but Link's assessment was very direct. The script was terrible. But it's not hopelessly bad. If some parts are revised, it could be a film worth investing in, Link said. Sandra Bullock's eyes lit up. Is there any hope for this script? Would you invest after revisions? Can you decide on script revisions? Link asked. Yes. Director Jane Bont and her team are actively seeking investment. As long as they can secure funding, they don't mind revising the script. Sandra Bullock explained the background of the screenwriter and director, Jane Bont. Jane Bont had worked as a cinematographer on films such as Red October, Die Hard, and had also worked as a screenwriter and actor. He was preparing to switch to directing when he was selected by Mark Gordon's studio. Now, the studio and Jane Bont are using the script to attract investment, and as long as they can secure funding, they are willing to revise the script. Sandra, please tell Mark Gordon's studio that Guess the Movies is willing to invest in this project, provided that Guess the Movies produces the film, with the studio also involved in the production. Director Jane Bont can also continue directing. If they accept, the two sides can co-produce the film. Okay. I'll call them right now and tell them the good news. Sandra immediately jumped up and ran to the phone booth outside to make the call. Link smiled and didn't stop her. Sandra Bullock had a cameo role as a flight attendant in Final Destination, so they were acquaintances. Sandra has good looks, acting skills, and is quite hardworking. She just lacks opportunities, which is why she hasn't made a name for herself in Hollywood even though she's almost 30. This film seems to be her chance, it just depends on whether she can seize it. Link, is this script really worth investing in? Renee Zellweger asked. No, it will after I revise it. You're amazing. Renee Zellweger looked at him with admiration. How's your filming going? I've finished 2, and there are 3 more to go. I'll probably be busy until the end of the year, but I like my busy life now. I have filming every day, and I always feel hopeful. Renee Zellweger looked at him gratefully. I know all of this is thanks to you. You're welcome. You earned it yourself, Link said with a smile. After joining Utah, Renee Zellweger, under Link's guidance, received many opportunities, including a supporting role in Quentin Tarantino's new film Pulp Fiction, the lead role in New Line Cinema's art film 8 Seconds, and a supporting role in Boundary. While these opportunities wouldn't make her a superstar, the pay was good, and the experience would be valuable, greatly benefiting her career. During their conversation, Sandra Bullock rushed in, saying that Mark Gordon's studio had agreed to give the project to Guess Films, with Guess Films as the lead and the studio as a co-producer. Mark Gordon, the studio's head, and director Jane Bond were on their way and would arrive within half an hour. Link smiled. It's too late today. Have them come to Guessing Pictures tomorrow to discuss the collaboration. I'll try to finish the script tonight, and we can talk about it then. Okay, I'll go tell them right away. Wait. Use this. Link stopped Sandra Bullock, who was about to get up again, and handed her the cell phone. The next day, Link received Mark Gordon, Jane Bond, and their team at the Guessing Pictures office and finalized the new film project, Speed. The film had a low budget, around $20 to $30 million. Mark Gordon's studio contributed $8 million. The rest was to be invested by Guessing Pictures. After finalizing the revised script, Link handed the film project over to Daniel DeVito. He suggested Keanu Reeves for the male lead, and no one objected. Link directly gave the script to Keanu and asked him to take a look. After reading the script, Keanu liked the character of Jack and agreed to star in it. The basic framework of the project was quickly finalized. While Link was busy with his new film projects, the 5th week's box office results for The Wedding Banquet were released. This week's gross was $1.36 million, a significant drop, bringing the cumulative total to $20.86 million. The large drop was attributed to Guess Game Studios not investing further in promotional activities for The Wedding Banquet this week, resulting in a substantial decrease in screenings. The film was also released overseas, primarily in Asia and Europe with large Chinese populations. Currently, it has grossed approximately $5.62 million in 18 countries and regions. The film's total box office is estimated at around $40 million, achieving a return on investment of 50%, making it a box office dark horse. This week, The Sugar Trap grossed $10.13 million, a drop of less than 15%, far below normal levels. Many media outlets accused Paramount Pictures of continuing to manipulate box office figures and failing to restrain themselves after being exposed by the media, labeling it as arrogance and brazenness typical of large film companies. However, Paramount Pictures countered that the lower drop in The Sugar Trap's box office was due to audience enjoyment, and that there was absolutely no manipulation of the figures. Meanwhile, numerous reviews praising the film appeared in the media, touting The Sugar Trap as the biggest film of the year and the most worthwhile movie to watch. Chapter 178 The Counterattack begins. Link, with Paramount doing this, are you still confident you can win the bet? Tim Robbins asked with a laugh in the WMA talent agency bar. It's hard to win, but there's nothing I can do. Many media outlets have exposed evidence of box office fraud for The Sugar Powder Trap, but Paramount Pictures denies it, and the Motion Picture Association of America isn't condemning it either. Now I can only pray that my film will gross more at the box office after its release, Link said. Sam Haskell said, you shouldn't have bet against them in the first place. You were betting against a whole CAA team and Michael Ovitz, the most powerful man in Hollywood. How could you possibly win? Link laughed. I was too naive. I originally thought it was a competition of box office revenue, but now I realize it's a competition of cheating ability. Based on the initial release of The Sugar Trap, the North American box office was at most $150 million, and now it's almost reaching $200 million. Paramount and those CAA guys have no shame in order to win the bet, Tim Robbins said. Don't be too discouraged. The reason they're going to such lengths to inflate The Sugar Trap's box office is mainly because you're so excellent, your film has such great potential, and they don't dare underestimate your film. The higher they inflate the film's value, the more they value you. Should I thank them for valuing me? Link joked. Sam Haskell said, Link, you need to be careful too. They dared to use these tactics to boost the price of the sugar powder trap when it was released. They'll definitely try to sabotage your movie's success when it's released. This time, they're confident of victory. I understand, Link. Are you nervous? Jennifer Connelly asked, linking her arm with his. Being nervous is useless. All I can do is promote the movie well and try to get more box office revenue when it's released, Link said. Tim Robbins laughed. Link, you're quite open-minded. That's over $70 million, not 70,000. I'm still young, money is nothing to me. Link smiled and got down to business. He came to WMA agency this time to work with them to use the media to attack CAA agency for manipulating box office revenue, disrupting the film market, and putting pressure on CAA. At the same time, he would provide WMA with resources for his next film, deepening their cooperation. WMA agreed to help, but also told him that their assistance was limited. To stop CAA from maliciously inflating the box office of The Sugar Trap, he would need to find other methods. Link understood that while WMA and CAA were competitors, their competition was mainly concentrated in the talent agency field. Competition in other areas wouldn't benefit them much, and even if they won, it wouldn't bring much advantage. Therefore, they wouldn't put in much effort in this matter. Link understood this, but still approached WMA for cooperation, aiming to find a partner. Even a small contribution from WMA to counter CAA would be meaningful. He also approached UTA President Marty Bauer to make a deal. UTA would use its resources and channels to pressure CAA and Paramount Pictures. As CAA continued its shameless inflation of The Sugar Trap's box office, many voices in the media criticized the film's distribution company, Paramount Pictures. Even members of the Film Association and the Theater Association criticized Paramount Pictures. This put immense pressure on Paramount Pictures. A Paramount Pictures spokesperson stated at a press conference that the box office figures for The Sugarcoating Trap were correct and that the studio was open to scrutiny from the Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA, and the media. While this response was firm, it also indicated that Paramount was prepared to compromise and accept third-party oversight. The MPAA subsequently launched an investigation into the box office figures for The Sugarcoating Trap. The MPAA, founded in 1922, is a trade organization for the film industry, primarily responsible for protecting American film copyrights, promoting the development of related industries, regulating film production and distribution, expanding overseas markets, and combating piracy and unfair competition. Its main members are the chairman and presidents of 7 major American film and television media companies: Warner Brothers, Disney, Universal Pictures, Fox, Columbia Pictures, Paramount Pictures, and MGM. The chairman of Paramount Pictures is also a member of the MPAA, although Paramount faces competition from the other 6 major studios. After the MPAA's intervention, even if Paramount wanted to continue inflating the film's box office figures, it would have to pay a much higher price. After the Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA, announced its intervention, The Sugar Powder Trap's box office performance plummeted from $10.13 million in its 8th week to $1.65 million, a drop of 90%. Its North American box office totaled $167 million, surpassing the Blair Witch Project's $158 million to become the second highest grossing film of the first half of the year, second only to Jurassic Park. This is a very good box office result. Second in the year, this is quite good. Maybe we shouldn't invest any more money, Kiefer Sutherland said, flipping through a newspaper in a bar. Robert Downey Jr. looked at Richard Gere. Is Mr. Michael Ovitz still planning to inflate the box office of The Sugar Trap? The Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA, is watching The Sugar Trap's box office figures closely. It'll be difficult to manipulate them now, Richard Gere said. No rush. We'll wait for Mr. Ovitz's notification. If he believes $167 million is a sure thing to beat Link, we don't need to add more funds to the box office. Kiefer Sutherland and the others nodded helplessly. Just as they handed over the money, a large number of news reports suddenly broke in the media about box office manipulation for The Sugar Trap, and the MPAA announced an investigation. Now the money was in Michael Ovitz's hands. Whether or not to add more investment was up to him. They could only wait and see his decision. After the box office figures for The Sugar Trap were released, Michael Ovitz was also considering whether to add more investment to further inflate the figures. Now, with the media and the MPAA watching, continuing to inflate the figures would be too costly. If the box office isn't raised further and is allowed to grow slowly, the film's North American box office will likely hover around $180 million, making it difficult to surpass $200 million. Whether $180 million can reliably beat Link's film is a question. Michael Ovitz said, "We were too impulsive when we placed the bet. We should have released Link's movie first, followed by The Sugar Trap, or both. That would have given us more room to maneuver. Releasing The Sugar Trap first, followed by Link's movie, puts us at a disadvantage," Ron Meyer said. "No need to rush. Even if Link's new movie does reach $100 million, we can find ways to stop it and suppress its box office once it's released. We still have the advantage in this bet," Tom Cruise said. "Even a great movie like The Sugar Trap only grossed a little over $100 million. Link's new movie can't possibly gross more. We need to be careful to prevent Link from rigging the box office figures. His previous 3 movies were huge hits, so there's a high probability he's rigging them." Michael Ovitz nodded. "Let's do it this way then. We'll see how things go before deciding whether to increase the promotional efforts for The Sugar Trap." Kiefer Sutherland and the others breathed a sigh of relief upon receiving the news. The bet, made with borrowed money, had put them under immense pressure. Not continuing the expensive promotion would ease the pressure. Chapter 179 Breaking 200 million. In the 9th week of The Sugar Patch's release, Guess C Pictures' 3rd film of the year was released, the comedy Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, which had only been completed in June. This film was a co-production between Guess C Pictures and Columbia Pictures, with Guess C handling production and Columbia handling marketing and distribution. The production cost was $12 million, and the marketing budget was $8 million. After the film's release, Guess C Pictures received 38% of the North American box office, 30% of the international box office, and 25% of the video revenue, taking 70% of the production company's share. However, the film's merchandise rights revenue went to Columbia Pictures. Because the film was distributed by Columbia Pictures, it didn't attract much attention during its pre-release promotion, being assumed to be just another low-budget comedy distributed by Columbia. The film starred Jim Carrey, an unknown actor, and director Tom Shadyac, also relatively unknown. Only Monica Bellucci, the second female lead, had gained some recognition with Paranormal Activity. The cast wasn't particularly noteworthy. The media and industry peers didn't take the film seriously. However, after the release of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, many media outlets had to shift their attention and coverage to this film. The reason is simple: the movie unexpectedly became the box office champion, grossing $14.26 million in its opening week. It successfully dethroned the 5-time champion action blockbuster Sniper, taking the top spot. Even more surprising was that the film was produced by Guess Movies, who handled everything from producer to director, lead actor, cinematographer, editor, and post-production. Link was also the screenwriter and producer. Seeing the Guess Movies logo and Link's name at the beginning of the film, many realized that it was likely closely related to him. The film recouped its costs in its opening week, making many in the industry envious. After The Blair Witch Project and The Wedding Banquet, another Guess Movies film was poised for a blockbuster. It seemed that every film associated with Link was destined for success. After the release of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, other films released at the same time were significantly affected. The previous week's box office champion, Sniper, saw its gross fall below $10 million, while this week's action blockbuster, The Distance, only grossed $8.72 million. The Sugar Trap also dropped below $1 million this week, earning only $892,000, a 60% decrease. Media outlets predict that Ace Ventura, Pet Detective will gross no less than $80 million in North America. This news has caused renewed anxiety among Michael Ovitz, Richard Gere, Tom Cruise, and others who are starting to calm down. Given the success of Paranormal Activity, The Blair Witch Project, The Wedding Banquet, and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, will Link's next film be a blockbuster? Currently, the probability of a box office hit is extremely high, and the probability of a loss is extremely low. Robert Downey Jr. and the others panicked and called Richard Gere to discuss countermeasures. Richard Gere then called Michael Ovitz for his opinion. Ultimately, Michael Ovitz decided to continue trying to boost the box office of The Sugar Trap to a safe level so that everyone could wait patiently for Link's film release. Otherwise, After 5 weeks, the 15-week time limit would expire, and there would be no chance to increase the Sugar Trap's box office. Ovitz's decision was supported by everyone. Starting in the second week of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective's release, media coverage of the Sugar Trap suddenly surged, with a level of hype comparable to the newly released Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. At the same time, many reviews appeared criticizing Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, arguing that it was still a bad movie, relying entirely on Jim Carrey to carry it, with the rest of the plot meaningless. He criticized Carrey's attempts to entertain the audience through facial contortions, mania, and stiff, comical movements as lowbrow. He felt it was unfair that such a film could be a box office hit, especially compared to classic films like The Sugar Trap. Many CAA stars announced they would book screenings of Tom Cruise's The Sugar Trap to support this excellent film. Robert Downey Jr. announced he would book 24 screenings in several Southern California cities, offering free admission to all viewers. Kiefer Sutherland, David Duchovny, Dustin Hoffman, Richard Gere, and others also announced 24 screenings, while Nicole Kidman announced 40 screenings in support of her husband, Tom Cruise. Several other CAA stars also announced they would book screenings in support of the Sugar Powder Trap. Their slogan was "Support good movies, let bad movies go back to the trash heap." At Link's urging, Columbia Pictures also increased its promotional efforts, airing Ace Ventura, Pet Detective trailers on various television networks, and the film crew increased their promotional tours in major North American cities. In its second week, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective grossed $27.05 million, bringing its total to $41.31 million, retaining its position as the top-grossing film. This week, The Sugar Powder Trap earned $8.37 million, bringing its North American total to $176 million. In its third week, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective grossed $17.62 million, bringing its total to $68.94 million. CAA continued its efforts, with its stars still booking out screenings, albeit on a much smaller scale. This week, The Sugar Patch earned $6.16 million, bringing its total box office to $182 million. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, in its sixth week of release, earned $5.47 million, bringing its North American box office total to $86.21 million. After 15 weeks in theaters, thanks to the efforts of CAA, Paramount Pictures, and numerous stars, The Sugar Patch has pushed its North American box office to $202 million, successfully surpassing the $200 million mark. According to The Hollywood Reporter, CAA and Paramount Pictures spent over $30 million on The Sugar Patch's box office performance. Currently, The Sugar Patch has grossed $202 million in North America after its first 15 weeks. How much will Link's new film gross? Who will win the bet between Link and Tom Cruise, among others? Many are eagerly awaiting the answer. Amidst everyone's anticipation, Link's third film, Final Destination, announced its release date, October 22, just before Halloween. Seemingly in an effort to sabotage Link's new film, CAA, Creative Arts Agency, has used various methods to bring forward or delay the release of several promising films to around October 22. These include Sylvester Stallone's action blockbuster Dragon Shoots, Paramount Pictures' sequel to The Addams Family, The Addams Family Values, Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's The Heartless Land, and the sci-fi action blockbuster RoboCop 3. Some are Paramount films, while others are from the other 6 major studios. Michael Ovitz's use of his connections and resources to block Link's new film demonstrates both his extensive network and influence, and also suggests that the 7 major studios are hostile towards Link and Guessing Pictures, not wanting Guessing Pictures to rise to prominence. Initially, the public, seeing the consecutive box office successes of Guessing Pictures' The Wedding Banquet and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, was confident in Link's next film, believing he had a chance to win this bet. However, with several blockbusters adjusting their release dates, confidence in Link began to wane. Many believed that Final Destination would struggle to break through the competition and achieve a good box office result, with a probability of it reaching $202 million in North America being extremely small. Haha, with so many movies surrounding Final Destination, it'll be difficult for it to even reach $60 million. Link is definitely going to lose. Link's pretty stupid. I originally thought he'd release his new movie around the winter break, but he released it at the end of October. October is a slow season for movies. It's hard for any film to gross over $100 million. Anyway, the most tense moment is over. Now let's raise our glasses and celebrate the final victory. Cheers. In the bar, Richard Gere, Robert Downey Jr., and others raised their glasses in celebration. Chapter 180 The Mask. I heard that Michael Ovitz and his gang spent over $20 million to boost the box office of The Sugar Powder Trap in order to beat you, and they also used a lot of connections to block your new movie. You're the only one in Hollywood who can put Ovitz in this position right now. Robert Shea, president of New Line Cinema, laughed in the music bar. Link shook his head. They overestimated my film. Seeing the high box office of my previous films, they assumed Final Destination would also be a big hit, which made them uneasy. That's why they kept inflating the box office of Sugar Trap and even arranged for 5 other blockbusters with box office potential to compete against me. In reality, Final Destination is estimated to gross around $100 million, and it's unlikely to break $150 million. They don't need to do all that to boost the box office, they can win the bet anyway, Robert Shea said. This just proves how capable you are. Your film hasn't even been released yet, and it's already made them uneasy, so they're trying every possible way to deal with you. Other directors' films don't have that kind of power, Link smiled. Actually, when he made the bet with Robert Downey Jr. and others, he only treated it as a simple wager, the one with the higher box office wins, and the one with the lower loses. He never expected so many things to happen after the bet. Ovitz and the others had clearly overreacted, thinking his new film was too amazing. In that respect, he was indeed very capable. When will the acquisition of New Line Cinema by Time Warner be finalized? Link changed the subject. The final contract has been finalized, and we'll sign it next week. Congratulations to New Line Cinema on joining the Time Warner family. Link raised his glass to Robert Shea. Last year, Time Warner Media, the parent company of Warner Brothers, made an acquisition offer to New Line Cinema, which also had the idea of joining the Big Seven media groups. The two sides quickly reached an agreement. After more than half a year of negotiations, they reached a deal in September, with Time Warner investing $350 million to acquire 65% of New Line Cinema's shares. New Line Cinema thus became a subsidiary of Time Warner, with the same status as Warner Brothers. However, after the acquisition, Robert Shea still owns 13.5% of New Line's shares, making him the largest individual shareholder outside of Time Warner. He was able to continue serving as president of New Line Cinema, retaining control of the company's operations. To maintain his control, Robert Shea needs to perform well in his position, generating profits that satisfy the board of directors of Time Warner. Otherwise, New Line Cinema could very well be swallowed up by Warner Brothers, a subsidiary of Time Warner. Therefore, Robert Shea quickly sought to build a relationship with Link and strengthen cooperation with Guessing Movies. Link, I heard the 7 media groups also intend to acquire Guessing Movies. Have you considered joining one of the 7 and finding a large company to back you up? Robert Shea asked. Link replied, not yet. We might consider financing in the future to improve the company's production and distribution capabilities, but we'll have to wait 2 years. After Guessing Movies was established, its 5 films were consecutive box office hits, with each film achieving a return on investment of over 10 times, demonstrating excellent business performance. This attracted the attention of many investment companies, and more than 10 companies have already sent representatives to negotiate, some wanting to acquire Guessing Movies, others wanting to invest. These investment companies valued Guessing Movies at $160 million. However, the company is not short of funds, and Link has no plans to accept investment for the time being. He plans to wait until Guessing Movies' market value reaches over $500 million before considering financing, or even going public, making Guessing Movies the 8th largest in Hollywood. Your thinking is also good. The two then discussed their new film project, 7. The film was greenlit in July with a budget of $33 million. Guess What Pictures was producing, and New Line Cinema was handling distribution, with Guess What Pictures holding a dominant position in the project. Originally scheduled to begin filming in September, the acquisition of New Line Cinema delayed the process by several weeks. Casting is now complete. The crew is setting up the set, and the actors are preparing for their roles, with filming planned to begin in early October. After discussing 7, Robert Shea talked to him about the recent Dark Horse film, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. In its 7th week of release, the film grossed $89.12 million in North America, with an estimated total of around $110 million. In its 3rd week overseas, It earned $22.14 million. Based on this performance, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective's global box office would not be less than $150 million. The film's production cost was only $12 million, resulting in a nearly 13-fold return on investment. Robert Shea admired Guess.com for producing such a film, shared a positive view of this genre, and praised Jim Carrey's acting. Finally, Robert Shea revealed his true intentions, pulling a script from his bag titled Dumb and Dumber, one of Jim Carrey's signature works. The film tells the hilarious story of two bumbling brothers pursuing a blonde bombshell, as absurd as Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Robert Shea believed Jim Carrey would be perfect for the lead role. Link, after reading the script, didn't immediately agree, stating he needed to take it back to the company for discussion and would reply in a couple of days. Back at the company, Link gave the script to the production department for investment advice, made some revisions to content that didn't fit the original plot, and then gave it to Jim Carrey for his opinion. Jim Carrey, being both an actor and screenwriter, understood absurd comedy better, and his opinion was crucial. After reading it, Jim Carrey also made some changes to the main character's dialogue, adapting it to better suit his style. Jim Carrey had no objections on anything else. He also presented Link with a script from a director at Dark Horse Entertainment. The script was titled The Mask, adapted from the comic book of the same name. It was a dark horror story with some comedic elements, suitable for Carrey's performance. After reviewing the script, Link contacted Carrey and Dark Horse director Chuck Russell, and they spent 3 days revising it to their original form. This new film project, The Mask, was also finalized. As of October, Guess the Movies had 6 new film projects confirmed for investment: Steven Soderbergh's The Unusual Murder, Ang Lee's Eat Drink Man Woman, Speed, a new project with Mark Gordon's studio, 2 Jim Carrey comedies, Dumb and Dumber and The Mask, and Link's personal film project, Seven. The highest investment was in Seven at $33 million, followed by Speed at $28 million, while the other films had investments of less than $20 million. Chapter 181 7 Deadly Sins filming begins. Knock knock knock, come in. In the office, Link put down his pen, rubbing his wrist as he looked at the person standing at the door. Sofia Coppola, dressed in a Chanel dress, walked in gracefully. Sofia, what brings you here? Just wanted to see you, you workaholic. Sofia stepped forward and hugged him. I'm not a workaholic. In my free time, I go to bars, play golf, and watch movies. What workaholic is as leisurely as me? I bet you go to bars, play golf, and even watch movies all for work, Sofia said with a smile. Well, it does have a work aspect. Going to a bar for drinks would be pretty boring, that's it. Every time Monica and I talk about you, she says you're working, from 9 to 6 every day, sometimes even working overtime. You're the most hard-working person I know. I've been busy lately. Final Destination is about to be released, and the new movie Seven is about to start filming. There are other things to do at the company, so I can't relax for a while. Link and Sofia chatted in the coffee shop as their new assistant, Annie, brought them 2 cups of coffee. Sofia said, "You're a strange guy. Someone your age who's as successful as you would be living the high life, eating, drinking, and having fun." Link laughed. "I like movies, and I'm busy with movie-related things every day. It's like an addict on drugs, but I'm enjoying life this way too." "What about your rumored girlfriends? You're so busy every day, don't you have time for them? Aren't you worried they'll fall for someone else?" "You've fallen for someone else? If it's true, I'll be very sad. I'm not your rumored girlfriend, I'm your good friend, your work partner. I'm different from them, right?" Sofia laughed. "Okay, that's how it is. They understand me just like you do. They don't need me to be with them every day, and I don't worry about them falling for someone else." Link shrugged. He had girlfriends to enjoy himself, not to lock himself up and add to his burdens. If someone wanted to fall for someone else, he wouldn't try to stop them. In America, as long as you have money and status, even if you're 70 or 80, you won't lack beautiful women. However, given his current status and position, staying by his side would provide access to many free resources, while leaving would mean getting nothing. Not to mention his youth, good looks, and generosity. At this point, no one would willingly leave. Link then discussed the filming plans for Seven with Sofia. Sofia was still working as an assistant director on the film. Sometimes, when Link was too busy, Sofia would manage the crew's work on his behalf. Therefore, Some work-related matters needed to be clarified with her before filming. Sophia arrived around 10 a.m., and the two got so engrossed in their work conversation that they didn't notice it was past 5 p.m. Sophia complained that he was too focused on his work and had infected her with his workaholic tendencies, demanding compensation. Link treated her to dinner, but Sophia said it wasn't enough and dragged him to her apartment for the night, where Milla Jovovich was also present. He played a guess what game with the two of them. The game was quite challenging and physically demanding. However, after repeated enhancements, his body became incredibly strong. The next day, he got up and went to work as usual. In October, the first trailer for Final Destination was released, and Link and his directing team arrived in New York to film. New York, the crime capital, hides sin and ugliness beneath its glamorous exterior, making it a perfect backdrop for a crime film. Furthermore, New York is quite humid this time of year, with graffiti on the streets, dark corners, and chaotic neighborhoods, all fitting the film's setting. The movie tells the story of veteran detective William Shamsey, who has 7 days left before retirement, and rookie detective David Mills, who has only been on duty for 1 day. Just as they meet, a murder occurs in a New York City residential area. A 400-pound man is found bound and gorged on pasta sauce, eventually dying from overeating. Before the two can uncover the truth, a second murder occurs. A wealthy defense lawyer is killed, and the killer uses his blood to write the word greed. When the veteran detective returns to the fat man's apartment to investigate, he finds the word gluttony behind the refrigerator. Based on these two words, veteran detective William immediately thought of the famous quote from Paradise Lost, "The 7 deadly sins of Christianity, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy." He believed that 5 more murders would occur, each linked to one of the other commandments, but rookie detective Mills didn't believe him. Continuing their investigation, the two detectives noticed a painting had been moved in the lawyer's office and found numerous fingerprints on the wall that spelled out the word help. Fingerprint comparison revealed that the fingerprints belonged to a drug dealer named Victor, who had committed multiple crimes and suffered from mental illness, making him the most likely suspect. Police immediately surrounded Victor's apartment. Upon entering, they found a man, brutally tortured, on the bed in the bedroom. It was Victor himself. A medical examination revealed that Victor had been imprisoned and tortured for a year, enduring various cruel punishments, yet he had not died. The word sloth was also found on the wall of Victor's apartment. This time, everyone began to believe the veteran detective William's suspicions. The killer was a deranged religious madman who performed some kind of religious ritual through murder. After learning this, William and the new detective Mills borrowed materials from the library and focused their attention on journalist John Doe. John Doe was also the perpetrator of the 3 murders, and a confrontation ensued outside his apartment. Mills was injured, and John Doe escaped. William and Mills found a photo of a blonde woman in the killer's apartment, believing she would be the killer's next target. However, when they found the blonde woman, she was already dead, tied to a chair and raped to death with a barbed knife. The word lust was written next to her. On the day William retired, the killer called, telling them he had killed another person. When the police arrived, a young and beautiful woman was found murdered in her bed, a cell phone in one hand and sleeping pills in the other. Her face was slashed. The word pride was written on the wall. Old William decided to retire after completing this case. On the same day, the killer, John Doe, surrendered to the police station, covered in blood, his fingerprints completely removed. Although the police caught him, the lack of fingerprints and the killer's seemingly insane modus operandi meant he would likely be released by the court as mentally unstable. The killer made a condition: if Old William and Mills agreed, he would confess to all his crimes. Old William and Mills agreed and, guided by John Doe, went to the outskirts. Just as they arrived, a Lalamove driver delivered a box. Old William opened the box and found the head of Mills' wife, Trish. The couple had loved each other deeply, and his wife was pregnant. While Old William was opening the box, John Doe told Mills the truth: he killed his wife out of jealousy for her good life and happy family. In a fit of rage, Mills shot and killed John Doe. John Doe died for the envy of the 7 deadly sins, and Mills was arrested and imprisoned for the rage, living a life of misery. John Doe, the murderer, ultimately fulfills the Christian 7 deadly sins: gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy, with his own life. This moment has become art. The film 7 is directed by Link, and the screenplay is written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who also wrote the original script. The main cast includes Morgan Freeman, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Connelly, and Kevin Spacey. Except for Ben Affleck and Jennifer Connelly, almost all the other actors are from the original version. Ben Affleck was chosen as one of the male leads because of his striking appearance and decent acting skills after Final Destination, making him a convenient choice. Brad Pitt was also considered, but Pitt is currently an artist under CAA, making him inconvenient to work with. Chapter 182 Movie Trailer. Actors, in position, Scene 1, Shot 1, Action. Because this film has a strong logical structure, Link tries to shoot according to the story's development. However, scenes in a particular location are often filmed in one take to save costs. Someone heard the couple arguing for about 2 hours, nothing else, then they heard a gunshot, and the victim was covered in blood. At a crime scene, a middle-aged detective said to old William, "A crime committed in a moment of impulse, is that so? Just look at the marks on the wall to see how impulsive it was." Old William, hands in his pockets, walked around the crime scene, examining the victim's apartment. Suddenly, he stopped in front of a child's drawing. Old William put on his glasses and asked, "Did their child see all this?" "What?" the middle-aged detective asked impatiently. "Was the kid there?" "What kind of bullshit question is that? We were all so happy to hear you were retiring, you know, Somerset. You always ask these bullshit questions. Did the kid see him?" "Who cares? He's dead. His wife killed him. That's none of our business," the middle-aged detective grumbled as he entered the house. Bang! 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 Footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Ben Affleck, playing David Mills, jogged up, wearing a black leather jacket, white shirt, tie, and a short stubble. Mills looked around the hallway after arriving upstairs, his gaze settling on old William. "Detective Somerset." Old William turned to look at him. "I'm Detective Mills." Cut. Link called a pause, reviewed the footage, and went to the set to exchange a few words with Morgan Freeman, Ben Affleck, and Charles, who played the middle-aged detective. There were some issues with the three actors' coordination in this scene. Morgan Freeman was a couple of steps slow in his movements, and Ben Affleck's performance lacked energy and youthful vigor, failing to capture the character's passion and youthful exuberance. Charles, playing the middle-aged detective, didn't portray the character's impatience effectively, and his emotions weren't quite there. Morgan Freeman, a veteran actor and Oscar nominee for Best Actor, was quite humble on set and willing to accept guidance from the young director. This made filming much smoother. Ben Affleck's issues are still quite apparent, a lack of understanding of the character and a lack of immersion in his performance. He needs more coaching. After explaining the scene, Link announced a second take. The second take went smoothly without any major problems. However, to help Ben Affleck get into character faster, Link filmed the second half of the scene twice more, aiming to help Ben find the feeling of playing David Mills. This scene took a whole day to film. While Link was filming in New York, the second trailer for Final Destination was released. The first trailer mainly announced the film's cast and release date. The second trailer contained more content and had a more shocking plot. It conveyed messages like, if death wants you dead at 3 p.m., you won't live to see 5 p.m., life and death are unpredictable, everyone will die, and death designs the way and time of death for everyone after birth. No one can escape death's pursuit. This trailer also featured some large-scale special effects scenes to attract viewers' attention. The trailer was effective. After its television broadcast, many people noticed the film and remained excited. Why don't we stop guessing movies from promoting this film on television? If we don't let them do extensive promotion, nobody will know the release date, and the film won't be a big hit, said Robert Downey Jr., a little anxious after watching the Final Destination trailer. The film seemed quite interesting, and he couldn't resist wanting to see it in theaters. Kiefer Sutherland said, "That's difficult. Guess what? A studio spends millions, even tens of millions of dollars on television advertising for a movie. It's a huge contract, and the 7 major media groups aren't going to forego that money just because of CAA. They don't have a habit of helping others," Robert Downey Jr. said. "Then what about boycotting the movie? We could contact the theaters and not let it be shown, or not let it be shown on a large scale. As long as fewer theaters show it, the movie won't be a big hit." That probably won't work either. The theaters know that Link's movies do well at the box office, and showing his movies will get them a larger share of the revenue. It's said that before Link's new movie was released, the 3 major theater chains were vying to show it in their theaters, offering him a higher share of the box office than the blockbusters produced by the 7 major studios. If we want to convince all the theaters not to show Final Destination, we can't just talk about it, we have to give them money, tens of millions, to compensate for the theater's losses. Doing that would require us to spend a lot more money, which is not worthwhile, David Duchovny said. Kiefer Sutherland said, "That's right. Besides, banning a film that has passed censorship is also considered monopolistic. Even Ovitz wouldn't do that. If this won't work, and that won't work, are we just going to watch Link's movie be a huge success?" Robert Downey Jr. was anxious. Not long ago, Ovitz asked everyone to crowdfund to help promote The Sugar-Coating Trap, and based on his bet, he needed to contribute over $2 million more. This brought his debt to $5.8 million. If he lost a bet, he would go bankrupt and become penniless. Every time he thought about this, he became irritable and anxious. Now, seeing the promising trailer for Final Destination, his anxiety intensified. Kiefer Sutherland patted Robert Downey Jr. on the back. "Robert, don't worry. The Sugar Trap grossed $202 million in its first 15 weeks. That's a number not every movie can achieve. Final Destination was just a high-budget thriller. Judging from the current situation, even getting $100 million wouldn't be easy, let alone $202 million. Don't forget how many resources CAA and Paramount spent to get The Sugar Trap to $202 million. How much money and time did we spend? Do Link and Guess the movies have those resources? No, so don't worry too much." Robert Downey Jr. nodded, thinking about how difficult it was for The Sugar Trap to reach $202 million. He knew Final Destination wouldn't have an easy time surpassing that number either. "Pitt, what's wrong? Why aren't you saying anything?" David Duchovny looked at Brad Pitt, who was drinking alone beside him. "I think I missed out on a great movie role." Brad Pitt sipped his beer and scratched his head with his thumb. "What role? Whose movie?" Robert Downey Jr. and the others looked at him. "The Seven Deadly Sins," Brad Pitt exclaimed. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Film Shooting. When Guessing Game Studios was casting for Seven, Brad Pitt's agent, through New Line Cinema, got him the script in an audition opportunity. After reading the script, Pitt felt it was fantastic and that he was perfect for the role of Detective Mills. Unfortunately, he didn't even pass the first round of auditions. This was because he was an actor under CAA and had close ties with Richard Gere, Robert Downey Jr., and others, and everyone in Hollywood knew that Link and Richard Gere were at odds. Furthermore, his inexplicable withdrawal from the third round of auditions for Final Destination likely angered Link. Now, Brad Pitt deeply regrets this, not only missing out on the role of Detective Mills in Seven, but also regretting his close association with Richard Gere and others. Judging from this bet, although CAA had a large and powerful team, Michael Ovitz was influential, and Richard Gere and others were famous, they appeared weak compared to Link. To win the bet, they kept inflating the box office figures for The Sugar-Coating Trap, trying to sabotage Link's film, and even attempting to prevent its release. This demonstrates Link's strength and the power of his film. While Richard Gere and his group are weak, they need to go all out to have a chance of winning. Furthermore, before the release of Final Destination, Richard Gere, Robert Downey Jr., and others were afraid of losing the bet, becoming extremely tense and anxious, neglecting their work and focusing solely on winning the bet, appearing quite unprofessional. Link, on the other hand, continued working, busy preparing for his new film, not devoting much energy to Final Destination, nor paying much attention to the bet. He seemed indifferent to the bet. The difference in their mindsets was obvious. Even if Link lost the bet, he felt he was far superior to them. This made him regret giving up the Final Destination audition, thus missing the opportunity to befriend Link. Seven Deadly Sins? That sounds familiar. Oh, right, is it Link's movie? I heard he's preparing a new movie and has already started casting, Robert Downey Jr. and the others asked. Brad Pitt took a sip of his drink. The movie has already started filming. The Los Angeles Times reported it. The filming location is in New York. What? Filming has started? At this time, Robert Downey Jr. was surprised. Are you sure? Final Destination is about to be released, and instead of doing promotion, he's in New York filming a movie. David Duchovny frowned and said, pre-release promotion is very important. At this time, Instead of finding ways to promote the movie and get more box office revenue, he's doing something else. Why? Doesn't he care about Final Destination's box office? It's impossible for him not to care. This bet is worth a whopping $72 million. Even if he's worth $400 or $500 million, it's still a huge sum for him. How could he not care? Robert Downey Jr. said angrily. He had bet several million dollars in the bet and was very nervous and anxious at this time. Link had bet more than $70 million, but wasn't nervous and still had the mind to film a new movie. This made him extremely unhappy. Kiefer Sutherland frowned and said, maybe he knows he's going to lose this bet, so he's given up, resigned himself to fate, and stopped paying attention to the box office to avoid unnecessary trouble. That makes sense, Robert Downey Jr. And Duchovny nodded repeatedly. Brad Pitt, hearing their words, felt even more strongly that getting too close to them was a mistake. He put down his glass, made a casual excuse, and left. Cut. Ben. You're only 23, not 83. Give me some youthful passion and energy. Don't always have that deadpan expression during your performances. If you have zombie syndrome, then please forgive me. If not, you'd better not keep that long face. We need you to be more lively and energetic here. On the set of Seven, Link slammed his fist on the table and shouted. Ben Affleck scratched his head. Director Link, I know. I didn't notice just now. I didn't perform well. I'll definitely pay attention next time. Get ready. Link waved his hand and continued filming the other shots. When filming this movie, he didn't insist that Ben Affleck act like Brad Pitt. The two are different types of actors with different acting styles. Forcing Ben Affleck to play a tough, masculine character would feel awkward and could easily ruin the role. Therefore, before filming, he redesigned Ben Affleck's acting style to better suit him and help him immerse himself in the role. However, Ben Affleck was prone to lapses in concentration during filming, sometimes losing his composure and becoming expressionless. So, after filming began, Link had to frequently remind Ben Affleck. Once or twice was fine, but after a while, he became impatient and his tone became harsh. Ben Affleck seemed to need a good scolding. He wouldn't act without being yelled at. A few scoldings could sometimes keep him in check for days. The harsher the scolding, the better the effect. This left Link feeling helpless. He was mild-mannered and rarely yelled, but the current situation forced him to be stricter. Scene 12, 3 takes, 2 takes, action. The crew continued filming. New Detective Mills, fresh off the job, is faced with a murder case. He accompanies retiring veteran Detective William Somerset to the crime scene. It's the first of the 7 deadly sins crime scenes. Gluttony. Want some coffee? In the rain, Detective Mills approaches William, who has just gotten out of his car, with 2 cups of coffee. No, William ignores him, picking up his tools and heading towards the crime scene. Detective Mills places a cup of coffee on the steps and quickly catches up with William. The scene is untouched, everything is in its original place. A police officer in a peaked cap reports to the two outside the crime scene. What was the time of death? William asks. Like I told you, I didn't touch anything, but his face has been submerged in spaghetti for almost 45 minutes, the officer in the peaked cap says as they walk. Wait, so no one checked whether he was alive or dead? Detective Mills asks. Did I not make myself clear? This guy hasn't been breathing for a while, unless someone can breathe in spaghetti sauce, the officer in the peaked cap says. Is this how they investigate cases here? Detective Mills asked skeptically. Sorry, detective, this guy was sitting on his own excrement. If he weren't dead, he would have gotten up by himself. That's enough, detective. Thank you for your explanation. Detective Mills handed the coffee to the officer in the peaked cap. Cut. This scene was filmed in a long take, mainly focusing on the movement and dialogue of the characters, requiring relatively low acting skills. It had been rehearsed twice before the official shoot, and the actual filming was completed in 1 take. Link called the actors who would appear in the next scene to rehearse twice on set, rehearse once, and after confirming there were no problems, continued filming. Detective William Somerset and Detective Mills entered the scene and were immediately shocked by the size of the deceased. The deceased was a massive, obese man, wearing an oversized vest, lying on the table like a mountain of flesh, his face buried in his plate. Cockroaches scurried around on the table and floor. The obese man's body was covered in blue veins and scars, looking extremely gruesome. During the filming of this scene, Relevant experts and forensic doctors were on set to provide guidance, ensuring the deceased looked exactly as required during makeup application. "Who said this was murder?" Detective Mills asked, shining a flashlight on the fat man's body. "Nobody," Old William said. "This guy's heart must be as big as a can of ham. If it wasn't a heart attack, I wouldn't know," Detective Mills said. Old William shone the flashlight around, crouched down, and shone it under the table, glancing at Mills. Detective Mills also crouched down and saw that the deceased's hands and feet were bound with wire. Cut. Next take. Because this scene was quite complex, Link and the crew filmed here for 4 consecutive days before completing all the shots. Chapter 184 Death's Demise. While the film crew was busy shooting, Lee Uzieli called to tell him that Final Destination was about to be released, and as the director, he couldn't miss the premiere no matter how busy he was. So Link took a day off to go back to Los Angeles for the premiere, did 2 brief promotional events, and then returned to the set to continue filming. His actions puzzled many people. Now everyone in the industry knows that he has a bet with the CAA stars, with stakes reaching hundreds of millions of dollars. Faced with such a large bet, he seems nonchalant, as if he doesn't care at all. Is he confident, or has he given up after seeing that the sugar-coating trap has reached $202 million at the box office and there's no hope of winning? Aaron Kutch, deputy editor of The Hollywood Reporter, interviewed him by phone, asking if he wasn't worried about the box office of Final Destination and if he wasn't worried about losing the bet. Why didn't he try to promote the film instead of continuing to make a new one? Was he full of confidence in the box office of Final Destination, or did he feel hopeless and no longer have any expectations for Final Destination? Link replied that the publicity for Final Destination had been handed over to the company's marketing department. He said that Joe Ferrero and John Gordon were more professional than him in promoting the film, and as a director, his main job was making movies. At this point, instead of waiting to see the box office results, he preferred to focus on his work and wouldn't waste time. Aaron Kutch asked him if he was confident about Final Destination's box office performance and what his estimate would be. Link laughed and said that based on current box office figures, Final Destination's North American box office numbers wouldn't be worse than the Sugar Powder Trap. Aaron Kutch wished him great success with Final Destination and hoped he would win the bet. Link thanked him and continued making movies. Scene 34, Shot 1, Take 3, Action. On October 22, a week before Halloween, Final Destination opened in 2,139 theaters in North America. After a series of promotional activities, the film grossed $26.09 million on its opening day. This was a decent opening, ranking 4th among films released this year, behind only Jurassic Park, The Sugar Powder Trap, and Sniper. This result relieved Michael Ovitz and his team. Based on the past 3 years' film release trends, a film with an opening weekend gross of over $20 million had a good chance of reaching $100 million in North America, but the final box office would likely be around $120 million, not exceeding that by much. It was unlikely to threaten the sugar-coating trap's $202 million. However, they didn't let their guard down. After Final Destination's release, they contacted the media to promote films released at the same time, such as Dragon Soaring Over the Sky and The Heartless Land, while simultaneously arranging for negative reviews of Final Destination to be published in the media, trying every means to suppress its box office performance. They originally thought this method would hurt the film's box office results. But the result was beyond their expectations. In its second week of release, Final Destination grossed $48.18 million in 2,141 theaters in North America, bringing its cumulative box office to $69.59 million, a better growth rate than the sugar-coating trap. Michael Ovitz was incredulous at this data and immediately arranged for people to investigate the authenticity of the results, to see if the film studio had inflated the box office figures. The survey results were negative. According to media and audience reactions, Final Destination is a high-quality film, boasting impressive special effects, excellent acting, and a captivating plot. It's a non-stop thriller, with many viewers screaming during the viewing. Variety magazine reported that Final Destination is one of the most thrilling horror films of the year, one of the best air disaster films in recent years, and Link's best Halloween gift to all audiences. The Los Angeles Times published a new survey report. When Final Destination was released, reporter Al Simmons distributed questionnaires to 1,000 viewers who had seen the film, asking for their opinions. The results showed that 99.2% of viewers gave it a score of 60 or higher, 76.5% gave it a score of 90 or higher, positive rating, 81.8% said they would recommend it to others, and 28.7% said they might watch it a second time. The positive feedback from male and female viewers was roughly equal. The positive reviews of Final Destination mainly focused on 3 points. First, the plot design is stunning, including the order in which death kills and the manner of death of the main characters, all incredibly unbelievable and terrifying, the kind of thing that makes you want to scream wow. Second, the director's direction is superb, the camera work is interesting, comfortable to watch, and immersive. The special effects are also excellent, with many scenes making you want to watch them a second time. Third, the lead actors are fantastic. Ryan Phillip is very handsome, Liv Tyler is beautiful, and the supporting cast, including Edward Norton, Angelina Jolie, and Jennifer Aniston, are also very attractive under the director's lens. While Joaquin Phoenix and Ben Affleck aren't conventionally handsome, their acting is good. Audiences praised the production team for their excellent casting choices, selecting actors with both acting talent and good looks. The survey also included negative audience feedback, mainly focusing on 2 points. First, the plot is too frightening. Watching the movie might create a psychological barrier to flying, which is particularly unfriendly to frequent flyers. Furthermore, the characters dying from seemingly minor accidents in their lives also leaves viewers terrified, even walking with trepidation. Second, the film places too much emphasis on fatalism. It repeatedly stresses that life and death are predetermined. Some people survive major disasters, while others choke on water, all part of death's design, beyond the control of ordinary people. This pessimistic viewpoint can trigger fear and anxiety about death, often unfounded. Besides media outlets like Variety, The Los Angeles Times, and The Hollywood Reporter, many American media outlets reported on Final Destination after its release, with over 80% giving it positive reviews and an overall score of 88 from 46 media outlets. According to media reports, 90% of the audience for Final Destination were between 18 and 35 years old. Moreover, these viewers gave Final Destination extremely high praise after watching it, even repeatedly recommending it to those around them, calling it a phenomenal film, and those who hadn't seen it were looked down upon. This led to the film's box office soaring after its release. According to data from theaters, on Halloween alone, Final Destination grossed $17.39 million in the U.S., becoming the highest-grossing film on Halloween in North American film history. Final Destination's nearly $50 million box office in its second week put immense pressure on Michael Ovitz, Richard Gere, Tom Cruise, and others. Chapter 185 Continue the suppression. What to do? Should we continue with the reverse publicity to suppress the box office of Final Destination? In the office, Langmuir asked, smoking a cigarette. Michael Ovitz stared at the data in his hand, 3 vertical lines etched between his brows. Final Destination had a production cost of only $13.5 million and grossed $69.59 million in its first 2 weeks, a performance comparable to the Sugar Powder Trap. Based on the current situation, Final Destination's North American box office would easily surpass $100 million in 2 weeks. Could it reach $190 million within 15 weeks? It didn't seem impossible. What to do? Continue trying to suppress Final Destination's box office? He had already used a lot of money and connections to suppress the film's box office over the past 2 weeks, but with little effect. Continuing to suppress it would require even more money, energy, and time. Not suppressing the film might mean losing this bet. Many people in Hollywood now knew they were involved in this bet. Losing to Link would not only result in significant financial losses but also affect his power and status in Hollywood. It would be a loss of both substance and face. Michael Ovitz, rubbing his bald forehead, began to regret participating in this bet. Since July, he had wasted too much time, energy, and resources on this to win, even neglecting his work at CAA, drawing criticism from the board. Having invested so much, losing this bet would be a complete loss. He, Michael Ovitz, the most powerful man in Hollywood, absolutely could not lose, especially not to a mere 22-year-old Chinese boy. Bang! Michael Ovitz slammed his fist on his desk, his expression turning fierce and resolute. Continue the suppression. We can't lose this bet. Continuing the suppression requires even more investment. Final Destination has received very positive reviews since its release, over 80% positive. If we hadn't done a negative publicity, the positive reviews would have exceeded 90%. This also makes continuing negative publicity even more difficult. Unless we have tens of millions of dollars, it won't affect the overall reputation of Final Destination at all, said Vice President Jay Maloney. Tens of millions. Richard Gere's lips twitched at the number. Robert Downey Jr. and his team had borrowed millions to participate in the bet, and then borrowed millions more to help boost the box office of Sugar Trap. If they were asked to raise funds to suppress the reputation of Final Destination, many of them would likely go bankrupt. Continuing to use media to suppress Final Destination probably won't work. It's too expensive. We've already invested a lot. If we continue to invest, and we lose, the problems will be huge, Langmuir said. Richard Gere nodded slightly. Besides suppressing the box office of Final Destination, what else can we do? Michael Ovitz asked, spreading his hands. Tom Cruise said, maybe we don't need to be too nervous. Final Destination only saw a box office surge around Halloween. Now that Halloween is over, the box office will definitely drop this week. It's almost impossible for Final Destination to reach $202 million. Michael Ovitz and the others hoped he was right, but their opponent was Link. Link was very smart and skilled at marketing films. His films often had amazing box office performance. If, a few weeks after the release of Final Destination, Link suddenly breaks his promise and uses the media to hype the film, like he did with Paranormal Activity and the Blair Witch Project, causing a box office surge, what can they do? Besides criticizing Link through the media for breaking his promise, there's nothing else they can do but watch his new movie's box office skyrocket. But compared to winning the bet and earning tens of millions of dollars, a few more criticisms are nothing. How about we contact the airlines and ask them to get involved and ban Final Destination from showing? Richard Gere pointed to a newspaper article stating that after the release of Final Destination, many people were frightened, causing American Airlines' load factor to drop by 13% year-on-year, and it might continue to decline in the coming weeks. 13% doesn't sound like much, but converted to money, it's millions or even tens of millions of dollars. This is a significant loss for an airline. To avoid losses, United Airlines might get involved. Hearing this, Michael Ovitz and Langmuir shook their heads repeatedly. That was impossible. If plane crash films cause airlines to lose occupancy, should we ban them? Then, with the increase in shootings in the US in recent years, should we ban action films? With the increase in rapes, should we ban erotic films? With the increase in suicide rates, should we ban tragedies? Hollywood is a free market economy. If we keep banning things like this, the American film industry will decline in a few years. Not only would the US government not support this, but the entire film industry would oppose it. So let's not even mention it. How about we create a scandal involving Link? I heard his private life is very chaotic, and he has close relationships with many women. Link's scandals will also affect his movie box office, Tom Cruise said. Jay Maloney said, it won't be very effective. First, we have no evidence that he has intimate relationships with many women. Second, he's only 22, unmarried, and the women he's been linked to aren't married either. These kinds of scandals will have minimal impact on him. This won't work, that won't work. What should we do? Are we supposed to pray to God that Final Destination will fail at the box office? Richard Gere shook his head, looking at the most powerful person in Hollywood. Michael, what should we do? Michael Ovitz's eye twitched. He really wanted to throw these people out of the office. If he knew what to do, he wouldn't be here worrying. But as the leader, he couldn't say he had no idea. Michael Ovitz thought for a moment and said, continue to use public opinion to suppress Final Destination, reduce positive reviews, increase the proportion of negative reviews, and contact United Airlines to ask them to confirm that the film has many flaws and the plot is very mindless. At the same time, expose Link's private life in the media, smear him, and do everything possible to make him a villain. Doing this will cost a lot of money, Jay Maloney warned. Michael Ovitz looked at Richard Gere and Tom Cruise. Let's raise another 10 million, another 10 million, this time. Even Richard Gere and Tom Cruise felt a pang of regret. They were actors with high salaries, but the money in their accounts came from hard work filming and promotion. Investing tens of millions in this kind of gamble was really hard to bear. But if they didn't continue investing, they might not get their previous investment back. They were truly caught in a dilemma. Chapter 186 Blackmail Attack. After its release, Final Destination received rave reviews, with both media and audiences praising the film. Some lauded its high quality, calling it the best thriller of the year, even better than Paranormal Activity. Others lauded Link's directorial skills, noting a significant improvement over his previous two works and the maturity of his directing techniques, suggesting a limitless future for him. The media coverage was overwhelmingly positive, even more so than for his previous films. Link was somewhat surprised. The film was entertaining but not particularly brilliant, possessing some skill but not exceptionally high. Where did all this praise come from? He called John Gordon, telling him that the company was focusing on the film and actors during promotion, and that excessive praise for him as director was unnecessary. Gordon, however, explained that the positive reviews weren't from the company, but rather objective assessments from film critics who had seen the movie. They were praising him because the film was genuinely good. Link remained skeptical, so he took some time to see Final Destination in theaters to see if the viewing experience was better in a larger audience. During the screening, the audience's reaction exceeded his expectations. Many people screamed and fried at the scary scenes, praised the male and female leads for their good looks, and lauded the cool plot design, declaring the movie fantastic. Sitting in his seat, Link heard the people around him praising the film, seemingly hired shills to sing its praises. "Link, this movie is amazing. You're brilliant," Jennifer Connelly exclaimed excitedly. "Is it really that good?" "I think it's just average." "It really is incredibly exciting." "You probably see too much, that's why you don't think so," Jennifer Connelly laughed. Looking at the images on the big screen and listening to the surrounding discussions, Link gradually understood why everyone liked the movie. It was the early 1990s, there weren't many classic horror films yet, people's tastes weren't so discerning, and their threshold for stimulation hadn't been pushed too high by films like Saw, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Walking Dead, The Conjuring, and The Ring. At this time, even slightly innovative horror films tend to be popular with audiences. Movies like Final Destination, which are creative and thrilling, are particularly well received. Furthermore, after receiving a 15% quality boost, the film's quality reached over 98%, significantly enhancing the viewing experience and intensifying the thrills for viewers. It's understandable that audiences praised the film enthusiastically afterward. Understanding this, Link confidently entrusted the marketing to John Gordon and others, continuing filming on set. In its third week of release, Final Destination grossed $29.35 million in North America, a significant drop from the previous week, but still firmly holding the top spot at the weekly box office. Second place went to the fantasy thriller comedy The Addams Family Values, released during Halloween, with $16.12 million this week and a cumulative total of $30.23 million, a significant gap compared to the first film. Third place was the action blockbuster Dragon Squad, with $6.04 million this week, a 52% drop, and a cumulative total of $45.58 million in its fourth week, far below expectations. Its North American box office is projected to be around $60 million. This led to Sylvester Stallone, the film star, publicly criticizing Warner Brothers, the film's distributor, accusing them of arbitrarily adjusting the film's release date, resulting in poor box office performance, and holding Warner Brothers fully responsible. The fourth-ranked film, The Heartless, starring Meg Ryan, a romantic thriller, grossed $4.51 million in its opening weekend, a mediocre performance. This caused CAA's plan to use a blockbuster to counter Final Destination's box office performance to almost completely fail. However, during Final Destination's third week of release, many negative news stories about Link surfaced in the media, negatively impacting the film's box office. Many newspapers published articles claiming his private life was extremely chaotic, with alleged relationships with dozens of female celebrities. Besides Monica Bellucci and others, there were also some new faces, including Jodie Foster, Winona Ryder, Liv Tyler, Jennifer Aniston, Angelina Jolie, Nicole Kidman, Maggie Amick, Courtney Cox, and many other female celebrities he had met. The tabloids reported on them all. Media outlets also reported that Link engaged in shady dealings during casting, claiming that actors had to sleep with him to get roles in his films, with Renee Zellweger, Liv Tyler, and Angelina Jolie among the victims. Other media outlets used Liv Tyler and Angelina Jolie's ages to claim his actions constituted a crime and warranted a police investigation. Initially, Link's team ignored these reports. However, after major newspapers began reprinting them, Guess C Pictures and WMA Agency immediately refuted these false reports. They explained that casting for Final Destination was entirely handled by the casting director, and Link had no time for such specific tasks, making any shady dealings impossible. Furthermore, during filming, Link, Liv Tyler, and Angelina Jolie were colleagues and had no plans for a romantic relationship. The media reports were entirely fabricated. WMA Agency's legal department stated they would sue the media outlet spreading these rumors. Liv Tyler was asked about the media rumors during an interview. Liv Tyler said that during her time on set, she only chatted with Link during filming, otherwise, they had almost no contact. This was because Link was very serious and often criticized people, making her nervous around him and making a relationship with him impossible. The host then brought up Link's strictness on set, asking the lead actors if he was a difficult director to work with. Except for Angelina Jolie, everyone else said no. Ryan Phillip and the others said Link was a very skilled director, and they learned a lot about acting from him on set, saying his guidance was better than any acting teacher. They added that while they didn't have much acting experience before joining the cast, their performances in Final Destination were excellent and received professional recognition, all thanks in no small part to Link's guidance. The host then asked Angelina Jolie why she said Link was difficult to work with, and whether she was worried about offending him. Julie said Link was difficult to work with because he rejected her multiple dates during filming. She added that Link was vastly different from the Playboy rumors, which disappointed her. She was good at dealing with men, but not with a cold, hard man like him, making him a difficult director to work with. Julie's words drew laughter. Despite Link's counterattacks against the negative news, numerous negative stories about him circulated in the media. Some of these stories were baseless, such as accusations of black discrimination, citing the black shadow in Paranormal Activity and the black smoke in Final Destination as clear allusions to black people. Furthermore, she claimed that in his films, except for a few black actors in supporting roles in Final Destination, all the other films featured white actors, which she also considered evidence of black discrimination. These accusations were utterly nonsensical. Link didn't respond, focusing instead on filmmaking and instructing his company's PR department to concentrate on promoting the films rather than paying attention to the negative stories. For someone of his status and wealth, a few negative stories were insignificant. Chapter 187 Box Office Setback. Scene 106, Shot 2, Take 1, Action. The main plot of this scene is that Detective Mills' wife, Trish, hears that Mills and his partner, William, are having a strained relationship. She invites William to their home to try and ease the tension. Jennifer Connelly plays Trish. "It smells delicious," Morgan Freeman, who plays William, says as he enters the living room. "What?" Jennifer's character, Trish, is cooking in the kitchen next door. William points to the kitchen. "Oh, thank you." Trish wears a white casual shirt and a brown apron, her long golden brown hair cascading over her shoulders. Under the light, she looks exceptionally beautiful, possessing a gentle and virtuous air, the wife every man dreams of. "Please, have a seat." "What would you like to drink?" Jennifer Connelly smiles in front of the camera. "Thank you, no, thank you. I'll drink later." William takes off his coat. "Okay, you can leave the clothes anywhere." "Sorry, the room is so messy, we just moved in and haven't had time to tidy up yet," Trish said from the kitchen. Old William smiled nonchalantly, looking around the room as he asked, "You two have been dating since high school?" Trish shrugged and laughed. "Isn't that traditional?" "You know, I decided to marry him on our first date." "Really?" Old William asked in surprise. "Yeah. He's the most interesting person I've ever met." Trish came out of the kitchen with a few wine glasses and placed them on the table. Old William looked at Detective Mills playing with two dogs in the next room and said expressionlessly, "That makes sense. It's rare these days, I mean, to see someone as loving as you two," Old William commented. Cut. Next shot. The next shot was a scene of the three of them eating. Detective Mills and Trish had moved from their hometown to New York. Because they were cheated by a real estate agent, Mills bought an apartment located under the subway tracks. Every 5 minutes, the subway would pass overhead, and the apartment and furniture would shake violently. Trish never complained about Detective Mills and continued to live happily with him. This scene is one of the few in the entire film that depicts the actors' private lives. Its purpose is to illustrate Trish's beauty, gentleness, and virtue, her deep love for Detective Mills, and to foreshadow the killer's murder of the pregnant Trish, thus enraging Detective Mills. While filming, Link would also take time to check the box office and media coverage of 7, Final Destination, in its fourth week of release, grossed $17.54 million in North America, bringing its cumulative total to $116 million. This week's box office drop was nearly 40%, larger than the distribution department had anticipated. According to the Public Relations Department, there are 3 reasons for Final Destination's sharp decline. First, after 4 weeks in theaters, the film's popularity waned, its appeal to audiences diminished, and its box office growth slowed. Second, several other films released at the same time were of high quality and had strong marketing campaigns, including the recently released RoboCop 3, and films released a few weeks earlier such as Dragon Squad, The Addams Family Values, and The Heartless Land. These films were released a few weeks before and after Final Destination, significantly impacting the film's box office. Thirdly, negative news about Link and Final Destination increased in the media, suggesting that not only CAA was spreading negative rumors about Link, but other forces were also attacking Link and Guess the movies. This negative news also significantly affected the film's box office. In response to these issues, the Publicity Department, led by John Gordon, and the Public Relations Department, led by Liu Xiaoli, took some remedial measures. For example, they increased publicity efforts, having several extras divided into groups to promote the film in major cities across the United States. The Public Relations and Legal Departments launched a strong counterattack against the rumors circulating in the media that slandered Link, suing more than 30 media outlets, etc. However, the results were mediocre. In its 5th week of release, Final Destination's box office dropped by $10.38 million, bringing its cumulative box office to $126 million. Complete Film magazine predicted that the film's North American box office would be around $180 million, a margin of error of about $10 million, making it difficult to break the $200 million mark. Final Destination's North American box office performance was also unlikely to surpass The Sugarcoating Trap's $202 million. Most media outlets believe that CAA actors, represented by Tom Cruise, have a very high probability of winning the bet. In response, major casinos and betting companies in the United States have increased the odds of Link winning the bet to attract bettors. According to media reports, the casino with the highest odds is Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, where the odds of Link winning are 4.2 to 1. A $1 bet on Link winning would yield $5.20 if Link wins. Meanwhile, the odds of betting on the box office success of The Sugar Powder Trap have dropped to 1.19 to 1. Tisk, Link, if you can win, go to the casino and bet another $10 million. You could make over $100 million from this bet. During a meal with the crew, Chris Bauer flipped through a newspaper, munching on pizza, and said, "Link, how about we get some celebrities to book out entire theaters? Think about it, invest $40 million to book out entire theaters. Push the movie's box office to over $200 million, win the bet, and you can make tens of millions afterwards. That's a good deal." "That's not worth it, we won't make enough. Do you have a better way?" "I do. I don't know if it'll be good or not." Link ate his pizza, looking at an article in Rolling Stone magazine. Recently, a new American band, the Backstreet Boys, had been formed. They had 4 members, debuted at the beginning of the year, released 2 singles, and were quite influential among young Americans. Besides the Backstreet Boys, several other pop music groups had recently become popular, including Destiny's Child, whose lead singer was the future black pop diva Beyoncé, and the English boy band Take That. With a changing music market, the number of pop singers debuting as groups has been increasing in recent years, and their influence is gradually growing. After learning about this, Link had a good idea. He called Marty Bauer, president of Utah Entertainment, and asked you if he was interested in creating a pop band. After the release of Final Destination, the lead actors, with their outstanding looks, became popular teen idols across America, their fame comparable to top singers. Given this situation, Link proposed forming a teen group with Ryan Phillip, Edward Norton, Liv Tyler, Joaquin Phoenix, Angelina Jolie, and others, and invited several musicians to create several singles specifically for the group. Among the lead actors, Liv Tyler, influenced by her father Steven Tyler, received musical training as a child and had a certain foundation. Joaquin Phoenix, to support himself as an actor, performed on the streets with his brother River Phoenix, and had acting experience. Angelina Jolie played in a band in her teens. Although Ryan Phillip and Edward Norton lacked prior experience, their good looks made them suitable as the face of the group after training. UTV President Marty Bauer expressed great interest in the proposal. Their agency not only handled actor representation but also had over 20 clients who were star singers and renowned musicians, and had been involved in the training, packaging, and promotion of many artists. Leveraging the fame of Final Destination to create a band and make a quick buck seemed like a fantastic idea. Marty Bauer immediately agreed, offering his full support and promising to arrange a professional management team to provide musical training and promotion for the new group. Link then called John Gordon and Liu Xiaoli to discuss promoting the film through a band. John Gordon and Liu Xiaoli were also impressed by his idea and expressed their full support after hearing his plan. However, during discussions with the lead actors, Edward Norton expressed no interest in singing, but the film studio didn't press him. Ultimately, the group consisted of Ryan Phillip, Liv Tyler, Angelina Jolie, and Joaquin Phoenix. Thus, the Deathly Hounds were formed. Chapter 188 Unexpected Events. After the Deathly Happiness Band was formed, they began secret training in Los Angeles. Yuta Entertainment assembled 5 top musicians to create new songs and an album tailored to the band's characteristics and style. Link barely interfered during this process. After 2 weeks of intensive training, Deathly Happiness debuted in Los Angeles and was invited to perform as guest artists at concerts by Aerosmith, Janet Jackson, Take That, and others. Due to the band members' considerable fame and outstanding image, coupled with joint promotion by Yuta Entertainment and Guess the Movies, Deathly Happiness quickly attracted the attention of the American public after their debut. Deathly Happiness's first promotional single, I Want It That Way, sold 106,000 copies in its first week, debuting at number 72 on the Billboard Hot 100, and sold 225,000 copies in its second week, debuting at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. Their second promotional single, What's Going On, also debuted in the Billboard Hot 20 in its first week. In early December, the band Final Destination released their debut album, Final Destination, which sold 195,000 copies in its first week, reaching number 3 on the Billboard 200 weekly album chart, bringing them into the limelight and rivaling top-tier bands. With the album's huge success, Final Destination began a North American tour, and Final Destination's box office numbers steadily rebounded. Shit. Movies can be promoted like this. They're using a band to promote a movie. It's shameless. Link is going to any links for box office success, even ruining the music industry. At the Viper House Bar, Robert Downey Jr. and his friends were furious when they saw the box office figures for Final Destination in the newspaper. By its 6th week, Final Destination's box office had fallen below $10 million, and by its 7th week, it had dropped to $6.74 million. If this trend continued, by the 10th week, Final Destination's North American box office would fall below $2 million, and by the 15th week, it would only reach a maximum of $160 million. But with the rise of the death duo, Final Destination's box office decline abruptly halted. In its 9th week, Final Destination grossed $9.02 million in North America, and in its 10th week, it grossed $15.73 million. Its cumulative North American box office in the first 10 weeks reached $171 million. If this trend continued, Final Destination had a strong chance of surpassing the $200 million mark before its 13th week, and by its 15th week, it would have far surpassed the sugarcoating trap. What do we do? If Link keeps going like this, we're doomed to lose, Robert Downey Jr. said fearfully. Initially, he didn't have much savings, but to join the hype, he borrowed over $4 million from the bank. Later, to raise funds for the sugarcoating trap and boost its box office, he borrowed another $3 million. After Final Destination was released, to suppress the film, he borrowed a third $3 million. This gamble left him with tens of millions of dollars in debt. If he lost, he would truly go bankrupt. Richard, Tom, do you have any good ideas? We can't lose this bet. Kiefer Sutherland looked expectantly at Richard Gere, Tom Cruise, and Dustin Hoffman. Compared to these 3 big stars, he and Robert Downey Jr. were much less valuable, and most of the funds they used for the bet and fundraising were borrowed from banks, leaving him with over $6 million in debt. The 3 of them also looked worried. Although they earned more, they were only multimillionaires. They had invested over $10 million in this bet. If they lost, their net worth would shrink considerably, and they might even suffer greater losses than Robert Downey Jr. and Kiefer due to cash flow problems leading to other failed investments. At this moment, They also hoped to find a way to lower the box office of Final Destination. But they couldn't come up with a good solution. That cunning bastard Link was using the band to promote the movie, leveraging the band's popularity to boost the film's box office. To reduce the film's popularity, they needed to suppress the band first. But this band was already famous. With the heavy support of Yuta Entertainment and Guess the Movies, the four members had become the most popular teen idol group in the music scene. They reportedly had tens of millions of fans in North America, with every concert drawing no fewer than 30,000 people. Wherever they went, the crowds were immense. Suppressing such a band was extremely difficult. You guys have no ideas. Robert Downey Jr. and Kiefer Sutherland looked at them with despair. Tom Cruise clenched his fist and said angrily, "Link, that bastard, is so despicable. He said he wouldn't use the media to market the movie, but now he's created a band to promote the movie. It's so despicable." Richard Gere hadn't expected Link to pull this tactic when they were about to lose. What angered him even more was that Link's way of promoting the movie not only didn't cost him anything, but he could also make a fortune through the band's albums and performances, far superior to their crowdfunding methods. Link was a real bastard. Does Mr. Ovitz have any ideas? Have you discussed it with him? Robert asked. Tom Cruise shook his head. At this point, Michael Ovitz was also at a loss. Ovitz said that to suppress the film's box office, they needed to invest significantly more money, at least $30 million, and even then, success wasn't guaranteed. Ovitz spoke with a dejected and listless air, seemingly having given up the struggle. What do we do? Just wait to admit defeat, wait for Link to take our hard-earned money? Let everyone laugh at us, Kiefer Sutherland shouted, losing his composure. Tom Cruise, Richard Gere, and Dustin Hoffman also looked gloomy. They didn't care about the money they lost, but they desperately didn't want to lose to Link, and they didn't want to be seen as a bunch of losers in the industry. But they were helpless. Now they could only pray for a miracle to stop the box office of Final Destination from rising. How about, a glint of ruthlessness flashed in Robert Downey Jr.'s eyes, how about we hire a hitman to take out Link? I heard CAA has hitman agents too. Richard Gere hesitated for a moment, his eyes darting around. Then he put his arm around Robert's shoulder and said with a smile, "Robert, don't be angry. Link deserves to die, but it's not that bad yet. We still have 5 weeks. We might not lose. Maybe there'll be a miracle." A miracle? Is there? Robert Downey Jr. didn't know what miracle could possibly help them turn the tide. Look, something's happened over there. Just then, the booth area suddenly became noisy and bustling. Many people crowded towards the entrance, talking loudly as they went. "I heard the big star River Phoenix is dead." "No way. I heard he overdosed and went into shock. Let's go see." Richard Gere and Tom Cruise stopped talking and curiously stood up to go outside. When they arrived at the entrance of the Viper House bar, they saw River Phoenix lying on the sidewalk, unconscious, foaming at the mouth, his condition unknown. Several security personnel were calling for an ambulance, and someone was loudly asking if there was a doctor, but no one stepped forward. "Riven's a heavy drug user. I didn't expect it to be this bad," Robert Downey Jr. said, stroking his chin. "He's definitely overdosed." Kiefer Sutherland was still shaken. As a fellow addict, River's condition instilled in him a greater fear of drugs. Richard Gere, watching from the sidelines, suddenly had a bright idea in his eyes and whispered to Robert Downey Jr. and Kiefer, "This might be our chance." "What chance?" "Riven is Joaquin Phoenix's brother. If River gets seriously ill, Joaquin won't be able to continue performing, and Final Destination will be greatly affected at the box office." "Right, this is good news for us." Robert Downey Jr. clapped his hands excitedly. Kiefer Sutherland also became excited. "I just don't know how good River is. If it's not too bad, it probably won't affect Joaquin's performance," Richard Gere said. Robert Downey Jr. and Kiefer frowned. Tick-tock. Hearing the ambulance siren outside, Robert suddenly had a brilliant idea that might make River's condition worse. Chapter 189 Rejecting Gambling and Drugs. Cut. That take is good. That morning, on the set of 7 in New York, Link was filming a scene where the killer imprisons and tortures drug dealer Victor when his assistant, Annie, rushed over and whispered some news to him. At 1:51 a.m. last night, famous actor River Phoenix died of a drug overdose at the Snake House bar. The medical report showed that his levels of heroin and cocaine were 8 times the lethal dose. He was 23 years old. Drugs kill people, Link thought to himself. Although he knew River died of a drug overdose, he didn't know the exact time, and he had no connection with River and no reason to interfere in his private life. This matter shouldn't have concerned him, but River's brother, Joaquin Phoenix, was out promoting his movie. With this incident, the promotional plans would likely have to be changed. He called John Gordon and Liu Xiaoli, suspending the Grim Reaper promotions and asking Joaquin to return to Los Angeles to handle his brother's situation. He would decide on other matters later based on the situation. Currently, the promotional effect of Final Destination has reached 92%, the film's market fit is 89%, box office subsidies have increased 2.6 times, and the North American box office is around $240 million. Breaking $200 million within 15 weeks is not difficult. Therefore, he is not worried about losing. At the same time Link received the news, many American media outlets temporarily changed their headlines for the next day, replacing them with the news of the untimely death of popular actor River Phoenix. River Phoenix was a rising star in Hollywood, having won numerous film awards and nominations in his decade-long acting career, including Best Actor at the Venice Film Festival, Best Supporting Actor at the National Board of Review Awards, an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, and a Golden Globe Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was considered one of the most handsome and talented actors of his generation. In addition, River was passionate about charity, releasing 2 charity albums, and was also an environmentalist. Now he's dead, from drugs, at the young age of 23, and many people are saddened by his passing. Among the numerous news reports of River Phoenix's death, one story sparked outrage. As an ambulance was preparing to take River for emergency treatment, a truck, driven by a drunk driver, crashed into the sidewalk, blocking the ambulance's path. It wasn't until more than 10 minutes later that the truck was moved, allowing the ambulance to take River to the hospital. Doctors said that arriving 10 minutes earlier would have significantly increased River's chances of survival. The truck driver faced fierce criticism from River's fans. However, compared to this news, another story stemming from River's death attracted even more attention and sparked considerable controversy. The day after River's death, many tabloids claimed that River was killed by his brother Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix played Todd in Final Destination, whose brother died in a plane crash. He had just finished filming the movie when his brother River died from drug use. This was seen as a curse, with Joaquin bringing death to earth and causing River Phoenix's demise. Because this story was sensational and involved some mystical elements, it quickly gained attention after being reported by numerous tabloids. At first glance, it seemed to make sense. Joaquin Phoenix had just finished playing a character whose brother died, and was still grieving for his brother's death in the film. Only 2 or 3 months later, his real-life brother suddenly died in an accident. It was too much of a coincidence. It was as if death truly existed. Meanwhile, some media outlets accused Link Ingalls of killing River. They argued that if he hadn't written such a script and cast Joaquin Phoenix as Todd, River might not have been taken by death, and called for a boycott of Ingalls' new film, Final Destination. After these news reports broke, Guessing Pictures held a small press conference. Liu Xiaoli, in an interview, expressed regret over River's death and condemned the tabloids' baseless accusations against Joaquin Phoenix and Final Destination, demanding they immediately stop spreading rumors, or the company's legal department would pursue legal action against the relevant media. Although Guessing Pictures and Joaquin Phoenix's agency publicly refuted many of the rumors in the newspapers, many media outlets continued to spread rumors, wildly implying that River's death was related to Joaquin Phoenix and Final Destination. Meanwhile, another type of news emerged in the media, claiming that the aforementioned news, including Joaquin Phoenix's alleged killing of River, was all part of Link's publicity strategy. The article alleged that Link was using River's death to promote the film Final Destination, breaking his promise not to continue promoting the film and continuing to profit from tragedy. He was a man who would stop at nothing for box office success. The article also urged viewers not to see Final Destination in theaters, to avoid falling for Link's tricks, and to prevent River from being disappointed. Affected by these rumors and the suspension of performances by the Grim Reaper duo, Final Destination only grossed $8.68 million in its 11th week, with $4.52 million in the first 4 days and only $4.16 million in the last 3 days, including the weekend, far below expectations. After 11 weeks in theaters, Final Destination has accumulated $179 million in box office revenue, still $21 million short of $200 million. If box office revenue continues to decline in the coming weeks, It is very likely that it will not reach $200 million by its 15th week. Yay. Yay, Robert Downey Jr. pumped his fist excitedly after seeing the box office figures. This time, they had used a calculated strategy. Regardless of whether Link used River's death for publicity, he would fall into their trap and be tainted with scandals and infamy. Finally, Link could suffer a loss he couldn't swallow. The feeling was exhilarating. Ring ring, his phone rang. Robert Downey Jr. glanced at it. It was Richard Gere calling. Richard Gere told him on the phone that although they had won one round, the situation wasn't optimistic. If Link increased his publicity efforts, Final Destination had a high chance of breaking $200 million at the box office within the next 4 weeks. Therefore, they should press their advantage, continue to use public opinion to suppress the film, continue to spread rumors and slander Link and Joaquin Phoenix, and try to reduce the film's weekly box office to below $5 million. Only then could they truly win this war. Okay, I agree. Continue to vilify Link for using River's death for publicity, for profiting from tragedy. It would be best to get theaters to pull Final Destination early. This movie is very unlucky, Robert Downey Jr. said, clenching his fist. That's what we're thinking too, but we need money. Money? More fundraising, Robert Downey Jr. exclaimed. Yes, without spending money on PR, the media won't write the reports we want, and we can't suppress Final Destination in public opinion. How much do we need this time? Ovitz said it needs $12 million. You'll probably need to put up $3 million. $3 million, Robert Downey Jr. cried out. I really don't have any money. I've mortgaged all my assets, and now I don't even have $100. Robert, think of something. If we win this time, we'll get our initial investment back, Richard Gere said gently. But I really have no money left, and no assets to pledge. You can borrow from Mr. Downey. This money is very important. This is the last time we're raising funds. If we can't raise this money, all the more than $10 million you've invested will be wasted. Robert, are you willing to lose to Link? I need to think about it some more. Give me some time, okay? Is 2 days enough? I've already paid Tom Cruise, Dustin Hoffman, and Kiefer. Now it's just you left. I hope you can hurry. We can't afford to delay. I understand. Robert Downey Jr. tossed aside his phone, hesitated for a moment, and then gritted his teeth and called Robert Downey Sr. to borrow money. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. The victory or defeat is over. In the 12th week of Final Destination's release, negative news about the film, Link, and Joaquin Phoenix reached its peak. Many media outlets accused Link of shamelessly using River's accidental death to promote the film. They criticized Joaquin for causing his brother River's death while still profiting from Link's death, calling him cold-blooded and ruthless. They also called Final Destination an ominous film, claiming that viewers would be targeted by death and suffer misfortune. Many media outlets linked recent accidental deaths to the film, claiming it caused 339 deaths and should be banned. Due to the negative publicity, Final Destination's box office performance was significantly affected. In response, Guess C Pictures, in conjunction with Yuta Entertainment, took a series of countermeasures. They sued unscrupulous media outlets, demanding apologies and compensation for defamation. Secondly, River Phoenix's father announced the establishment of a charitable foundation in River's name to protect animals and the rainforest River had purchased. The Final Destination duo resumed their performances and announced that 100% of concert ticket revenue and 100% of album sales would be donated to the River Charitable Foundation to support River's lifelong philanthropic endeavors. Guess What Films announced a $1 million donation to the River Charitable Foundation. River's friends Keanu Reeves and Johnny Depp also announced donations of $300,000 and $200,000 respectively. Nicolas Cage donated $100,000, and Jennifer Connelly announced a $50,000 donation. Those who had worked with River, including Harry Fordson, Brad Pitt, and Uma Thurman, announced donations ranging from $50,000 to $30,000. After the Final Destination promotions resumed, the film's critical reception gradually improved, and box office performance slowly rebounded. In its 12th week, it grossed $9.05 million, bringing its cumulative box office to $188 million. With 3 weeks remaining, at this rate, Final Destination has a very high probability of surpassing Sugar Trap's $202 million in North American box office after 15 weeks of release. Damn it. How could this happen, Richard? Tell me how this happened. We've invested so much money, why isn't it working at all? Robert Downey Jr., disheveled and with bloodshot eyes, stared at Richard Gere. Robert, don't get agitated. Final Destination only has 3 weeks left, and they're still short of $14 million in box office revenue. They might not be able to reach that much in the next 3 weeks, Richard Gere tried to persuade him. How could they not reach that? Last week's box office was over $9 million. Even if it drops, it won't fall below $6 million. Not to mention, the Grim Reaper team is still touring around the world, promoting the movie. In the next 3 weeks, Final Destination's box office will only get higher and higher. How could they not reach $14 million? Robert Downey Jr. roared, spitting on Richard Gere's face. Richard Gere sighed. Things have come to this point. There's nothing I can do. Michael Ovitz can't do anything either. We all did our best. It's all Link's fault for being so cunning. Robert, don't be sad. You only lost a little over $10 million in the bet, while Tom and I lost over $20 million. It's all Link's fault. He deserves to die. It's over. Utterly over. Robert Downey Jr. slumped onto the sofa, his eyes vacant. Richard Gere and Tom Cruise, worth tens of millions, would only suffer minor setbacks from losing $20 million, but he would be bankrupt, even losing Robert Downey Jr.'s retirement savings. Kiefer Sutherland also pulled at his hair, his expression blank. This time, he had also lost nearly $10 million and was burdened with millions of dollars in debt. He once again regretted listening to Robert Downey Jr. and Richard Gere's encouragement to participate in this bet. Bang! Something's happened. Just as the group was losing hard and ready to give up, another major news story broke. A flight from Chicago to Odessa, a city in northern Minnesota, had crashed on a hillside not far from the runway due to malfunction, killing all 125 people on board. This news initially seemed unrelated to Final Destination, but during an interview, 3 citizens excitedly told the reporter that they had also planned to take this flight to Odessa, but after watching Final Destination before their flight, they were so nervous that they changed their plans and took the train instead. If it weren't for the movie, all 3 of them would have perished in the crash. Although this was a relatively positive news report, that Final Destination saved their lives. After the crash, many tabloids seized the opportunity to sensationalize the film, claiming it was an ominous movie. They argued that since the film's global release, 2 more air crashes had occurred, resulting in numerous deaths, and that the film should be banned from further screenings. Furthermore, airlines released their performance figures for the past 2 months, showing a significant decline in load factors compared to before the release of Final Destination. The decline ranged from a minimum of 3% to a maximum of 21%, with more pronounced drops in regions where Final Destination performed well at the box office. United Airlines announced it would consider discussing with Guessing Movies, suggesting an early end to the Final Destination run. The film's distribution faced immense pressure. However, several major insurance companies supported the continued release of Final Destination, even proactively spending money to help with promotion. According to data released by MetLife Insurance Services, the number of customers purchasing personal accident insurance has increased significantly in the past 2 months, up 4.3% from the third quarter and 8.6% year-on-year, a substantial increase. It's said that many insurance salespeople mentioned the movie Final Destination when selling insurance, emphasizing the unpredictability of life and death and highlighting the value of accident insurance. Some insurance companies even partnered with the Guessing Movies to launch a Final Destination accident insurance package. Regardless of criticism or support, Final Destination continued its run amidst controversy. In its 13th week, it grossed $10.36 million, in its 14th week, $6.37 million, and in its 15th week, $4.13 million. After 15 weeks in North America, Final Destination had grossed a total of $209 million, $7 million more than the Sugar Powder Trap. We lost. Robert Downey Jr. lay pale on the floor. His phone rang incessantly. The bank was pressing for repayment. How could this happen? So many of us, so much money raised, why did we lose to Link alone? Kiefer Sutherland's expression was grim. Link must have cheated. He won against us with underhanded tactics, causing us to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. That kind of person deserves to be shot dead, Richard Gere said angrily. A murderous glint flashed across Robert Downey Jr.'s face. Can we break the bet? Can we get our money back through some other means? Kiefer Sutherland asked hopefully. Richard Gere shrugged. I asked, no. We were worried Link might back out if he lost, so we prepared numerous contracts during negotiations to close all avenues for retreat. The notary office automatically determines which side wins based on which film grosses higher in North America. Once a side wins, Citibank must transfer the winnings to the winning account within 24 hours. There's no excuse for delay. Damn it. Link deserves to die, Robert Downey Jr. roared, his face contorted with rage. He picked up the phone and called his agent, ordering him to contact a hitman to kill Link in New York. Link successfully won the bet, gaining an extra $144 million in his Citibank account in Hong Kong and an extra $32.5 million in accounts with several betting companies in Las Vegas. He won over $170 million from this bet, plus over $100 million in North American box office revenue from Final Destination. Furthermore, Final Destination earned $117 million in overseas theaters over 2 months of release. The film has generated approximately $23 million in revenue from video sales, and about $18 million from home cable television rights, music album sales, advertising sponsorships, and other ancillary income. The film has currently brought him and his company a profit of about $340 million, and may exceed $500 million in the future. Compared to the $13.5 million production cost and over $20 million in promotional investment, it's a highly profitable venture. Chapter 191 Seeking Revenge. Link, the newspapers say you bet big with Tom Cruise, Richard Gere, and the others, and won big. Congratulations, you're amazing. Yes, the newspapers also say your movie will make $400 or $500 million. You and your movie are incredible. In a Midtown Manhattan restaurant, Link was having dinner with the 6 main actors from Friends. During the filming of Seven, because the filming location wasn't far from the Friends set, Jennifer Aniston often visited the set, and she and Link became acquainted. Jennifer said the Friends cast were all his fans, and they often talked about him while filming, inviting him to dinner. Link happened to be free and accepted. After the dinner started, Matt LeBlanc and Matthew Perry bombarded him with questions, like curious children. Link laughed. Not that much right now, but maybe it'll reach $400 million if we sell the merchandise rights. That's incredible. You make more profit in one movie than many publicly traded companies make in a year, said Lisa Kudrow, who plays Phoebe. Link's movies all do very well at the box office, and they're very entertaining. The New York Times called him a highly innovative director, and I agree, said David Hume, who plays Ross. Courtney Cox, who plays Monica, raised her glass and laughed. Link has a great eye for talent. When we were filming Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Jim Carrey talked about the film's creation process. At that time, he couldn't get any roles, was unemployed, and had nothing to do. Encouraged by Link, he started writing comedies and wrote the script for Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Initially, he had very little confidence in the script and didn't respond when he submitted it to film companies. He mustered up the courage to show the script to Link, who not only encouraged him but also gave him guidance on writing the script and eventually invested in the film. After Ace Ventura, Pet Detective was finished, we predicted it would gross around $40 or $50 million, but no one expected it to gross over $100 million, and Jim Carrey instantly became a big star. All of this is thanks to Link, Link said. Jim Carrey is a very talented comedian. The success of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective was mainly due to his quirky performance and the good teamwork of you main actors. My contribution to this film was very limited. You're the film investor, and you say you didn't contribute? You're too modest. Jennifer Aniston smiled sweetly at him. Link shrugged. I think Link's greatest strength is his way of promoting his movies, Matthew Perry said. Before Paranormal Activity was released, I saw a lot of paranormal news in the newspapers. Those news stories were so realistic that I almost believed that ghosts existed. After the movie was released, I realized it was just publicity. Before and after the Blair Witch Project was released, the newspapers were full of articles about witches, and I almost believed that witches existed. After the Blair Witch Project was released, I rushed to the theater to see it, only to find out I'd been fooled. The movie's camera was so shaky, I almost threw up. Why are you always so close? Why can't you just let go of your doubts and completely believe that our world has both ghosts and witches? Matt LeBlanc said, winking. I have a brain, unlike you, who believes everything. Matthew Perry gave him a disdainful look and continued, of all the movie promotions, the best was for Final Destination. To promote the movie, you formed a pop band, held concerts, and promoted it all at the same time. It was incredible. Variety magazine said you pioneered a new way of promoting movies. However, we also received a lot of criticism. Link shook his head. While the idea of forming a band with the lead actors was novel, it also drew criticism from both the film and music industries. His film colleagues thought he was using any means necessary to promote the movie, prioritizing box office revenue above all else, showing extreme greed and lacking any artistic integrity. The music industry thought the Final Destination band was messing around. A hastily formed, non-professional band with mediocre singing and dancing skills, relying solely on the movie's popularity, good looks, and a few catchy pop songs to sell hundreds of thousands of albums. This was stealing the livelihood of professional musicians, a case of bad money driving out good, ruining the music market, and utterly unethical. No matter what they criticize, it doesn't stop Final Destination from being a great movie. Yes, the plot of Final Destination is fantastic. If I had known it would be so funny, I shouldn't have given up the role of Bill Sidham. I regret it so much now. Matt LeBlanc smirked. Matthew Perry laughed. Dude, you only realize your mistake after the movie is released? You're so slow to react. Lisa Kudrow said, it's a good thing you didn't go. If you had played Bill, Final Destination wouldn't have made so much money at the box office. Nonsense, my acting is great. If I had played Bill, I wouldn't have been any worse than Ben Affleck. Don't forget, I was Bill's first choice. Matt LeBlanc patted his chest and said proudly. Link chuckled as he listened to their banter. After dinner, Link and Jennifer Aniston strolled along Fifth Avenue in New York, chatting about Friends, which was currently filming, and Link's new movie, Seven. Jennifer linked arms with him and told him many interesting stories from the set. Jennifer's lips curved into a sweet smile as she spoke. Chatting with her made one feel unconsciously cheerful and relaxed. As they approached the Manhattan Hotel, bodyguard Wallace suddenly shouted "Watch out," and rushed forward with another bodyguard, Bob, to shield him and Jennifer. Wallace even pulled out a handgun. Link pulled Jennifer to the back of the car. Through Wallace's shoulder, he saw Robert Downey Jr. rushing towards them in the distance, wearing a tattered trench coat, disheveled, with a stubble-covered chin, probably suffering from drug withdrawal. His face was pale, his nose was running, and he staggered as he walked. Despite his wretched appearance, the anger and ruthlessness in his eyes remained sharp. Link glanced at him and took out his phone to call the police. Link, you come out here, you damn bastard. Because of you, I'm bankrupt, I have nothing left. It's all because of you. I'm going to kill you, Robert Downey Jr. shouted angrily, clenching his fists. Link ignored him. Come out here, you coward. Don't hide there, let's fight one-on-one and see who dies faster, Robert Downey Jr. roared, hands in his pockets. Link shook his head. You're a multimillionaire in debt, I'm a billionaire. What makes you think you can fight me one-on-one, you coward, you wimp? Come out here, Robert Downey Jr. glared at him, his eyes red. He had originally wanted to hire a hitman to kill Link. But hiring a hitman required money, and he couldn't even come up with $10. He had borrowed a plane ticket from Richard Gere. He couldn't find a hitman, so he had to do it himself. But that bastard Link was too cautious, he even went shopping with 2 bodyguards, giving him no chance at all. A siren wailed in the distance, growing louder as it approached. Seeing no opportunity, Robert Downey Jr. prepared to turn and leave. Wait, Link shook his head and stepped forward. Robert Downey Jr., you're a complete idiot. Do you know why you went bankrupt? It's all because you were so stupid. When we made the bet, it was only $10 million. How did it become $75 million? Who is it that encouraged you, you fool, to bet so much? I heard you raised $30 to $40 million to boost the box office of Sugar Trap. Who persuaded you to do that? There's something else you probably don't know. You gave someone tens of millions of dollars to suppress the reputation of Final Destination. Actually, this money wasn't given to you by Michael Ovitz, and it wasn't used to suppress the reputation of Final Destination. Guess where your money went? Robert Downey Jr. was stunned, an incredulous expression on his face. Impossible. Richard wouldn't lie to me. Don't you have Michael Ovitz's phone number? "Why don't you call and ask Michael Ovitz yourself?" Link sneered. Robert Downey Jr. clenched his fists, his whole body trembling slightly. Chapter 192 Hitting a Person with a Car. Link, with Jennifer Aniston in his arms, looked at Robert Downey Jr. with pity. "You're too naive and innocent. You've been used without even realizing it. If you had pulled out a gun just now, you'd be riddled with bullets by now. Before you die, you won't even know who made you this way. And after you die, your so-called good friend can openly use your father's retirement money, using it to pick up girls while calling you a fool, a victim who profited from being sold out." "Shut up. Shut up." Robert Downey Jr.'s face contorted with rage as he glared at him, but he didn't attack. He glanced at the two bodyguards, took out his phone, and called Michael Ovitz, asking how many times Richard Gere had been charged, and how much each time. Michael Ovitz replied 3 times, $10 million each for the first 2, and $5 million for the third. Because the chances of winning were slim, he didn't charge more for the third time. It was all voluntary. Why was he asking this? Robert Downey Jr. hung up the phone, gritting his teeth, his expression becoming even more ferocious. Whoosh. Whoosh, the police car arrived, and 2 patrol officers got out, guns drawn, pointing them at Robert Downey Jr., ordering him to lie down for a search. "Link, don't get cocky. I'll let you off this time, but others won't. I bet you won't get away with this easily." Robert Downey Jr. glared at Link, spreading his arms and lying face down on the ground. The police officers searched him, finding a handgun, and then took him away. Link took the frightened Jennifer back to their Manhattan hotel to rest. The next day, while filming, Link received news that Robert Downey Jr. had been bailed out by Robert Downey Sr. At the same time, the police issued a restraining order against Robert Downey Jr. He was prohibited from harassing Link and from being within 500 meters of Link. The following evening, Link received a call from Luz Airlie in Los Angeles. Half an hour earlier, Robert Downey Jr., while intoxicated, ran over Richard Gere with his car in front of the Viper House bar. Gere was thrown more than 10 meters and was subsequently taken to the hospital in an ambulance. His condition was unknown. The following day, almost all American media outlets reported this major news. Hollywood's hottest star, Robert Downey Jr., who was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor earlier this year, committed a violent act in the street yesterday afternoon at 6:24 p.m., running over another big star, Richard Gere. Due to the severity of his injuries, Richard Gere is currently in the ICU at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. It is said that he suffered dozens of fractures throughout his body, the most serious being his spine and skull. His chances of survival are still unknown. Robert Downey Jr. was arrested by police at the scene. This news was explosive. Almost every newspaper in New York covered it. Not only were there detailed reports, but also many high-definition photos, showing the horrific scene. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Times published an in-depth investigative article explaining the entire conflict between Robert Downey Jr. and Richard Gere, some parts factual and some speculative. According to Richard Gere's wife, supermodel Cindy Crawford, Robert Downey Jr. had visited Richard Gere at his villa before the incident, leading to a heated argument and physical altercation. Downey Jr. was then escorted out of the villa by his bodyguards. Less than 3 hours later, Downey Jr. sped through the street and struck and killed Richard Gere. When asked by reporters if she knew the reason for the conflict between Downey Jr. and Richard Gere, Cindy Crawford stated she did not. Insiders revealed that prior to this incident, Downey Jr. and Richard Gere had an excellent relationship, and many people had seen them chatting happily at bars and parties. Why did these two former friends suddenly become bitter enemies, even to the point of life or death confrontation? This incident has sparked curiosity among people across the United States and even the world. In its report the following day, the Los Angeles Times continued with a lengthy analysis of the reasons for the conflict between the two. The newspaper cited a report from the New York Daily News, stating that 2 days before Robert Downey Jr. hit Richard Gere with his car, he was taken in for questioning by New York police. The reason given was that Downey Jr. had flown from Los Angeles to New York specifically to cause trouble for Link, carrying a handgun, but was stopped by Link's bodyguards. So why did Robert Downey Jr. bring a gun to cause trouble for Link one day, and then hit Richard Gere with his car the next? What exactly happened between Robert Downey Jr., Richard Gere, and the famous director Link? Is there any connection between Link and Robert Downey Jr. hitting Richard Gere? Stay tuned for the next report. Because the Los Angeles Times reporting was too lengthy, over 5,000 words a day, like a long serialized novel, many eager readers couldn't wait and went to other newspapers to learn the inside story. Many other newspapers reported the news that day, although not as detailed as the Los Angeles Times, but these reports still offered glimpses into some of the case's details. According to an investigative article by The Hollywood Reporter, a major event occurred in the entertainment industry before the conflict between Robert Downey Jr. and Link and Richard Gere. Link's third film, Final Destination, grossed $209 million in its first 15 weeks, surpassing Tom Cruise's The Sugar Patch and temporarily ranking second in the annual box office charts. But what does Final Destination's box office surpassing The Sugar Patch have to do with Robert Downey Jr.'s car accident involving Richard Gere? This story begins with a betting agreement. In July, Robert Downey Jr. and Link made a bet in a bar, wagering on which film would gross higher, Link's Final Destination or Tom Cruise's The Sugar Patch. Later, for easier tracking, the bet was changed to which film would have a higher North American box office after 15 weeks. Initially, the bet was $10 million. Later, Richard Gere, Dustin Hoffman, Tom Cruise, and many executives from CAA joined the betting, bringing the total bet to $144 million, a truly high-stakes gamble. To ensure the box office success of The Sugar-Coating Trap, CAA raised funds for extensive promotion after its release, with many celebrities even paying for private screenings, totaling over $40 million. Most of this funding came from crowdfunding by Tom Cruise, Richard Gere, Robert Downey Jr., and others. Ultimately, The Sugar-Coating Trap grossed $202 million in 15 weeks. Everyone initially thought Tom Cruise and his team had it in the bag, but after the release of Final Destination, its box office soared, surpassing $100 million in North America in less than 4 weeks. Reportedly, after Final Destination broke $100 million. In an attempt to suppress its box office performance, Tom Cruise, Robert Downey Jr., and others continued to raise funds and spread negative news about Final Destination and its creators through tabloids. Unfortunately for them, Final Destination had enormous box office potential, and Link's promotional tactics were very clever. Despite immense public pressure, the box office continued to grow, surpassing $200 million in 13 weeks and reaching $209 million in North America after 15 weeks, successfully surpassing The Sugar-Coating Trap's box office. Link won the bet, earning $144 million including his initial investment. However, in order to win, the CAA stars raised tens of millions of dollars in 3 separate rounds to hype up the sugar powder and suppress the box office of Final Destination. Robert Downey Jr. paid over $8 million, plus his $5 million bet, totaling $13 million. Due to Downey Jr.'s limited financial situation, $9 million of this was borrowed from banks, and $3 million came from his father, Robert Downey Sr. After losing the bet, Downey Jr. went bankrupt and became penniless. This is why Downey Jr. threatened Link with a gun. As for why Downey Jr. ran over Richard Gere with his car, according to insiders, Michael Ovitz arranged for Richard Gere to collect payments during CAA's fundraising. As a result, Richard Gere inflated the figures, causing Downey Jr. to pay millions more dollars, further exacerbating Downey Jr.'s already strained financial situation. Robert Downey Jr. harbored resentment after learning of this. At this point, everyone understood, Robert Downey Jr.'s actions towards Link stemmed from his inability to accept defeat, while his act of running over Richard Gere with his car was an act of rage, unable to tolerate being betrayed by a friend. Understanding this, everyone realized that in this incident, neither Robert Downey Jr., now imprisoned, nor Richard Gere, severely injured, were innocent. Even Link, threatened by Robert Downey Jr., had won over $70 million in this bet, money many couldn't earn in a lifetime, so it was understandable that he was threatened. He was far from innocent. Happy New Year 2025. May you have good fortune and 100% increased energy, at all book lovers. Chapter 193 drops another shocking revelation. Besides these inside stories, the newspapers also reported other juicy gossip. For example, it was claimed that CAA President Michael Ovitz was the ringleader, and even with stars like Tom Cruise, Richard Gere, and Dustin Hoffman, he couldn't beat Link. Link was filming in New York during the bet and didn't participate in the promotion of Final Destination, yet still won the bet, earning him the nickname God of Gamblers, and that the conflict between Link and Richard Gere and Tom Cruise was because Link harassed their wives, etc. Some of these stories were true, some false, and they were hyped in the media for over half a month before the hype gradually died down. Affected by this incident, Final Destination's box office actually increased, earning $8.51 million in its 16th week and $5.66 million in its 17th week, bringing its North American total to $223 million. Overseas markets were also affected, with a slight increase in box office revenue, bringing its total to $135 million after more than 10 weeks of release. Complete Film magazine predicts that Final Destination will gross over $400 million worldwide, earning Link over $300 million from the project, and his ranking on the next Forbes Rich list will continue to rise. The magazine states that recent news will also positively impact Link's public image. This is because these news reports reveal that most of the criticisms of Link and Final Destination were fabricated by Robert Downey Jr., Richard Gere, and others to suppress the film's box office. Despite this suppression, Final Destination still managed to gross over $200 million, demonstrating the film's high quality and worth seeing in theaters. Furthermore, in this bet, Link single-handedly defeated several major stars under CAA, including Michael Ovitz, the most powerful figure in Hollywood. Complete Film magazine claims Link will become the new king of the Hollywood film industry. That morning, while filming on set, Link received a call from Robert Downey Jr.'s lawyer. Link said Robert Downey Jr. wanted to make a deal with him. Downey knew who had ordered the truck driver to block the road the night River Phoenix died, delaying River's medical attention. Downey was willing to come forward and identify the culprit, and tell the media who knew the inside story, in exchange for $3 million. Link said he wasn't interested. River was dead, whether it was a drug overdose or murder, it had nothing to do with him. He didn't want to spend money on this, even though he wasn't short of cash. If Downey wanted to make money off this secret, he should make a deal with the real killer. After hanging up, Link continued filming on set. After more than 3 months of shooting, Seven was over 90% complete, and all scenes would be finished in about 3 weeks. "We're back," Detective Mills shouted to the officers behind the counter in the 14th Precinct police lobby. "Well done," one officer exclaimed. "Your wife called you, so you need to buy a pager too," a policewoman said, holding the phone. "Detective," the killer shouted as he entered the lobby while Detective William and Detective Mills went upstairs. Detective Mills and William were discussing catching the killer and didn't hear him. "Detective, the killer," John Doe yelled. In an instant, dozens of police officers in the lobby turned to John Doe in the center of the lobby. He was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and brown casual pants. His shirt splattered with blood, his hands covered in blood, and his fingers wrapped in white tape. Detective Mills and William also turned to look at him from the steps. "I heard you were looking for me," John Doe asked expressionlessly, spreading his hands. "Hey, damn it, don't move." Detective Mills drew his pistol, pointed it at the killer, and quickly walked down the steps. "Don't come near him, everyone." Old William had seen the killer's sketch and recognized John Doe as the perpetrator of the 5 murders. "Get down on the ground, I know you." John Doe stared nervously at Detective Mills. "Get down. Get down now." "Face down," Detective Mills shouted, gripping his gun tightly. Other officers surrounded him from all sides, pointing their guns at John Doe and ordering him to get down. John Doe knelt down expressionlessly, spreading his arms and slowly lowering himself to the ground. "Hurry up, do as I say, get down completely, you bastard, get down, hurry, hurry." Detective Mills pointed his gun at John Doe's forehead, his tone and expression somewhat exhilarated from apprehending the killer in front of all his colleagues in the police lobby. "God, what's this?" A policeman handcuffed John Doe, his hands smeared with blood. "I need to talk to my lawyer," John Doe said calmly, lying on the ground. "Don't talk, you piece of shit," Detective Mills cursed. Cut. Link reviewed the footage, picked out a few problematic sections, and spoke with Morgan Freeman, Ben Affleck, and Kevin Spacey, offering suggestions and asking them to make minor adjustments. He was the director, the film's first audience member, and also its quality control inspector. During filming, he needed to draw a standard for the actors based on his own aesthetic standards, requiring them to strive to reach and exceed that standard. How they exceeded it was none of his concern. The actors had to rely on their own abilities. He wouldn't approve films that didn't meet this standard. He would continue to guide the actors during filming, pushing them to find ways to improve their acting and performance. However, Compared to the cast of Final Destination, the main actors in Seven were all quite good. Morgan Freeman, a veteran actor, had played many roles, and his acting was rated above 90. Jennifer Connelly's acting was rated over 70, but with his guidance, her level in this film reached above 80. Kevin Spacey isn't very famous yet, considered a second-tier actor in the industry, but his acting is solid and very natural. Plus, his image fits the killer John Doe quite well, so his performance in this film is no worse than Morgan Freeman's. The only slightly less impressive actor is Ben Affleck, but under Spacey's relentless criticism and guidance, and with the guidance of the three main actors, Affleck's acting in this film is still above 70 points. This scene was filmed over 3 days, successfully completing the scene where John Doe surrenders and makes demands of the police. Link, don't you think my acting has improved a lot lately? During a break in filming, Ben Affleck bought everyone coffee. A little, Link nodded, looking at the newspaper. Ben Affleck grinned excitedly. I was surprised too. Before filming this role, I never thought I had such great potential as an actor. I performed so well in many scenes that it would be difficult for me to reach that level again. If my acting was a 60 before, now it's at least a 90, maybe even a 92. Right, Sophia glanced at him. 92? Out of 1,000? You really dare to grade yourself, Ben Affleck retorted. Was my acting bad? Your acting is uncertain, but your attitude is good. Keep it up, Sophia teased, nudging Link's arm. What are you looking at, so engrossed? Robert Downey Jr. said River was murdered. Link handed the newspaper to Sophia. During filming, another big news broke in the media. According to Robert Downey Jr., he and Richard Gere were at the Viper House bar when River Phoenix was involved in the incident. After seeing River strikes, Richard Gere suggested they arrange for a truck to block the ambulance. He reasoned that if River died, Joaquin Phoenix wouldn't be able to continue his tour, impacting the box office of Final Destination, and they might be able to turn the tables and win the bet. They did it. When asked if the truck driver deliberately crashed into the ambulance, Robert Downey Jr. said yes. When asked who they were referring to, besides him and Richard Gere, Downey Jr. didn't answer. However, media reports revealed that Tom Cruise, Dustin Hoffman, Kiefer Sutherland, and David Duchovny were also present at the Snake House bar that day. Downey Jr.'s then most likely referred to these individuals. This revelation caused a huge uproar. Following this news, the story of Richard Gere and Robert Downey Jr.'s involvement in River's death made headlines across major media outlets. Some reports even claimed that Tom Cruise was among those involved. Chapter 194 Filming Wrapped. Tom Cruise's team quickly denied the rumors, stating that he wasn't there that day. Dustin Hoffman's team also produced several witnesses to prove he wasn't involved. Later, when reporters interviewed Robert Downey Jr., asking him if Cruise and the others were involved, Downey Jr. smiled and shook his head, claiming that Richard Gere was responsible. He said Richard Gere called the truck driver to block the ambulance's path, delaying River's treatment. Because Richard Gere was paralyzed and in a vegetative state after the car accident, the media couldn't verify the story with him. The investigation was stalled. However, the media knew Richard Gere was finished. Even if he recovered, he wouldn't be able to continue acting. Robert Downey Jr. was in prison for intentional assault causing serious injury, reportedly facing a minimum sentence of 10 years. Furthermore, the reputations of Tom Cruise, Dustin Hoffman, and Kiefer Sutherland were also significantly affected, with several film companies terminating their contracts. Link, however, reaped significant benefits from this, including a bet of hundreds of millions of dollars, increased fame, and a growing influence in Hollywood. Link, have you heard? Rumors are circulating that you're the most untouchable person in Hollywood. You're more powerful than Michael Ovitz or the presidents of the 7 major studios. Anyone who offends you will suffer terribly. Michelle Pfeiffer laughed on the phone. That's an exaggeration. I'm not that powerful, no exaggeration at all. Richard Gere, Robert Downey Jr., Tom Cruise, they all went against you, and now they're all in trouble, each one worse than the last. Doesn't that just prove how powerful you are? Okay, it's somewhat related, but not by much. By the way, thank you for the information you gave me earlier. You're welcome, Michelle Pfeiffer laughed. Not long ago, Michelle Pfeiffer received inside information from Dustin Hoffman. Richard Gere had swindled Robert Downey Jr. out of money during a fundraising campaign. Michelle then passed the information to Link, who in turn told Robert Downey Jr., who, enraged, ran over Richard Gere with his car. Michelle also deserves credit for this, and he plans to treat her well when he returns to Los Angeles. Besides Michelle Pfeiffer, Quentin Tarantino, Tim Robbins, Jerome Preston, and others also called to tease him about how awesome he was. They also asked when filming would be finished, as he had won the bet and should treat everyone. Link replied that it would be soon. Scene 31, Act 15, Take 3, Action. The crew continued filming. This scene was a road trip, with Detective William and Mills driving the killer John Doe to the countryside, discussing John Doe's motives and psychology. Why so excited? William noticed John Doe's excited expression and swaying body in the back seat through the rearview mirror. The movie's almost finished. No, we're not far from our destination, John Doe joked, causing many to laugh. They'll do this scene again. Detective Mills turned to John Doe. I've been trying to figure something out, and maybe you can help me. When people go crazy, like you, do you know you're crazy? John Doe remained silent. When you're looking at weapons magazines while sitting on your own excrement and applying glue, do you ever stop and think, wow, this is insane, I'm fucking crazy, do you? Detective Mills asked with a wicked grin. John Doe stared at his face and smiled. Maybe you'll feel better if you think of me as crazy. Yes, I really enjoy it, Detective Mills said. Link called a pause, got into the car, and discussed the upcoming filming plans with the three men. Next, John Doe told the two his motives, claiming he was chosen by God, that God's will made him kill the gluttonous, disgusting fat man, the greedy, unscrupulous lawyer, the lazy, gay drug dealer, the beautiful on the outside, ugly on the inside woman, the prostitute spreading the virus, and so on. This scene is one of the core and climaxes of the film, revealing its theme with a few lines of dialogue, and is also the part that will cause controversy. It's very difficult to perform, so Link and the three talked for a while before officially starting filming. Innocent? Are you kidding me? John Doe retorted unhappily. That fat guy, that disgusting fat guy who can't even stand up, if you saw him on the street, you'd definitely point him out to your friends and imitate him for fun. If you saw him while eating, you definitely wouldn't be able to eat anymore. And that lawyer, you guys should really thank me privately. This man spent his whole life doing everything he could to make dirty money by helping murderers and rapists escape legal punishment. Murderers? Murderers like you, Detective Mills quipped. That woman, John Doe raised his voice. That woman, so vile inside that she couldn't lie without being ugly on the outside. That drug dealer, that prostitute drug dealer, and don't forget that prostitute spreading the disease. John Doe paused. Only in this shitty, filthy world can you righteously say those people are innocent. But that's the point. Every street, every family, has these kinds of crimes, and we turn a blind eye because they're so common. We choose to tolerate them because they're so insignificant. We tolerate them morning, noon, and night. Old William and Detective Mills listened to him with complex expressions. But we don't have to tolerate them anymore, John Doe said. I've set an example. My actions will surely cause people to think, study, and emulate. Forever, cut. Kevin Spacey performed this scene very well, delivering his lines in one breath while maintaining consistent emotion throughout. His performance was very infectious, resonating with the audience and even making them feel sorry for his death. Link checked it once but couldn't find any problems, and continued filming the next take. The police car pulled up in the suburbs. Mills and William the Elder escorted John Doe to an open area and ordered him to kneel. Just then, a truck drove up from a distance. Detective Mills continued to guard John Doe, while William the Elder ran towards the truck, intercepted the driver halfway, and took a box from the vehicle. Inside the box was Trisha's head. Meanwhile, John Doe began to provoke Detective Mills. Did you hear what I said, officer? I want to tell you how envious I am of you, and your beautiful wife. What? Detective Mills looked at him in surprise. Trish, what the hell are you talking about? As a media professional, it's easy for me to get information on you from your police station. I visited your house this morning, and after you left, I tried to play the role of a good husband. I wanted to try living a normal life, but it didn't work. Put down your gun, William the Elder shouted as he ran from a distance. So I took a souvenir, John Doe said expressionlessly. Her beautiful head, Mills. Old William ran over. Give me the gun. Mills picked up the gun and pointed it at John Doe. What's he saying? What's going on over there? Give me the gun, Mills shouted excitedly. I saw you take a box. What's in that box? Because I'm jealous of your life, John Doe continued. Looks like jealousy is my original sin. Shoot, detective, become Wrath, tell me what's in the box, Detective Mills cried out in anguish. Don't listen to him, he's a liar, old William advised. She begged me to let her go, Detective, John Doe said softly. She begged me to spare her life, begged me to spare the child in her womb, old William punched John Doe in the face. Detective Mills froze. A child? Oh, John Doe laughed at old William. He didn't even know. Detective Mills broke down, despite old William's advice not to shoot, not to be fooled. Mills couldn't suppress his anger and, with tears in his eyes, shot John Doe, emptying his magazine on the body. Bang! 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 This scene was extremely difficult, especially the part where Detective Mills breaks down. Ben Affleck couldn't get it right even after many takes, so Link had no choice but to constantly pressure him, forcing him to rehearse repeatedly. Finally, Ben Affleck was driven to the brink of collapse before he could deliver the scene perfectly. Cut. After filming this scene, all scenes for 7 were completed. Link took the crew back to Los Angeles to rest and attend the Golden Globe Awards. Bonus chapter for the new year, may everything go smoothly. Chapter 195 Award Ceremony. Director Link, look here, Director Link, some people say that Robert Downey Jr. was instructed by you to run over Richard Gere with his car. Do you agree with this claim, Director Link? There are rumors that Michael Ovitz was also involved in this bet and lost to you. Even Michael Ovitz is no match for you. Many people believe you are the most powerful person in Hollywood right now. What are your thoughts on this? On January 21, 1994, the 51st Golden Globe Awards were held at the Hollywood Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles. Because of the high popularity of Link's Final Destination and Monica's Ace Ventura, Pet Detective the previous year, the two were invited to attend the awards ceremony. Link happened to have some time, so he brought Monica along. However, when they walked the red carpet, the reporters outside the barrier became agitated upon seeing him, sticking out microphones from behind the white railing and bombarding him with one highly provocative question after another. Link, with Monica in his arms, posed for photos on the red carpet, initially not intending to answer the reporters' questions, but the reporters' questions became increasingly audacious. Link stopped and waved. Everyone, please be quiet. I can answer 3 questions, provided you ask serious, factual questions. I don't have time to explain hearsay or rumors, nor do I want to. Director Link, I heard your new movie has finished filming. When will it be released? A reporter from The Hollywood Reporter asked first. Around the summer season. The movie is still in production. A specific release date will be announced after completion. Director Link, I interviewed Mr. Robert Downey Jr. in jail on Wednesday. Mr. Downey told me that he became what he is because of you. If he hadn't made a bet with you, he wouldn't have gone bankrupt, and he wouldn't have run over Richard Gere with his car. He said you are a very terrible person. Do you agree with Mr. Downey's words? A reporter from the Los Angeles Times, Al Simmons, asked. Are these Robert Downey Jr.'s exact words? If true, it shows he hasn't realized his mistakes, is unwilling to take responsibility, and wants to shift all the blame onto others. It's ridiculous and pathetic, Link shrugged. Director Link, we've received concrete information that Mr. Michael Ovitz, chairman and president of CAA, also participated in your bet, wagering over $10 million. Later, the hype surrounding the sugar powder at the box office and the suppression of Final Destination's reputation were also personally orchestrated by Michael Ovitz. In this bet, Michael Ovitz and others invested tens of millions, doing everything in their power to win, yet still lost to you. After the bet ended, many believe that your power in Hollywood now surpasses that of Michael Ovitz. Do you agree with this? Asked an Entertainment Weekly reporter. Link laughed. The media describes Mr. Ovitz as the most powerful person in the entertainment industry, and I agree. His power encompasses all sectors of the entertainment industry, including film, music, fashion, sports, and so on. I'm just a film director. What power do I have? Even if I have some, it's far from comparable to his. The reason he lost this time was probably because he underestimated the box office potential of Final Destination and didn't invest enough time in the bet. If he had invested more resources in the bet, no one in Hollywood could have beaten him. Director Link. The news reported that you had affairs with dozens of actresses, including Nicole Kidman, Cindy Crawford, and Julia Roberts, and that your conflicts with Tom Cruise, Richard Gere, and others were also related to these rumors. Do you admit to this? Asked a reporter from the American Consulting Journal. This is complete and utter fake news. I've been in Hollywood for 2 years, filmed 4 movies, and spent almost every day on set and at the company. Some of the women I've been linked to have affairs with, I've never even met, and it's impossible for me to have any connection with them. Okay, that's 3 questions. Goodbye, everyone. Link waved his hand, pulled Monica forward, and refused to answer any further questions from the reporters behind them. Entering the awards ceremony at the Hilton Hotel, since they hadn't received any nominations, their seats were towards the back. However, Link was quite famous, and after he sat down, many members of the film crew came over to greet him. Among them were director Martin Scorsese from The Age of Innocence, and the 2 leading actresses, Michelle Pfeiffer and Winona Ryder. This film was released last September and received 4 nominations, including Best Picture, Drama, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Director. Director Martin Scorsese asked him how his new film was going, what genre it was, and expressed his hope that it wouldn't be a thriller. After watching Final Destination, he had cancelled 2 flights and taken the train instead. Link said it was a religious film, encouraging people to do good. Martin Scorsese nodded repeatedly, saying that kind of film was even better. Winona Ryder, not familiar with him, came over to chat with Monica, but her dark eyes seemed to intentionally or unintentionally sweep over Link. Michelle Pfeiffer, nominated for Best Actress this year, was one of the focal points of the event. With so many people around, she couldn't chat, so she only shook hands reservedly and traced his palm with her ring finger. After the director and others left, Johnny Depp came over to chat with him. This year, his romantic film Bonnie and Joan was nominated for Best Actor in a Drama, marking his 2nd Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor. Although his career was going well, his personal life was quite troubled. First, there was River's death. The bar where River's incident occurred belonged to him, and River and his associates went there specifically because of him. He also supplied the bar with illicit drugs. After River's incident, the bar was investigated, and he was implicated. Keanu Reeves and others also harbored resentment towards him. Second, there was his breakup with Winona Ryder. Rumors circulated that a third party had interfered, with both Depp and Winona Ryder allegedly having affairs. Other reports suggested their breakup was due to their busy schedules on film sets, often going months without contact and causing their relationship to fade. Depp didn't comment on the reason for their breakup, and Link didn't press for details. Julianne Moore, a supporting actress from Bonnie and Joan, also came over to say hello, expressing her admiration for his films and hoping for a future collaboration. Link recounted an incident from his time as a Burger King server, where he received a $5 tip from her for coffee, which he used to thank her for his financial struggles. Everyone laughed. Emma Thompson, the lead actress from The Goodbye of Love, also came over to greet him. Last year, James Shamras's screenplay Sense and Sensibility caught his eye, slated for a film adaptation directed by Ang Lee. Link approved the project after reviewing it. Emma Thompson also became a partner of Guess the Movies. This woman has had a very lucky year, with 3 of her films nominated for Golden Globe Awards. Farewell My Concubine received 5 nominations, including Best Actress. Her film Much Ado About Nothing received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Musical or Comedy, and In the Name of the Father received a Best Supporting Actress nomination. She is arguably the most successful British actress in Hollywood right now. Emma Thompson also introduced Kate Beckinsale, the British actress who played the supporting role in Much Ado About Nothing. Keanu Reeves, who played the villainous third male lead in the film, was also invited by the organizers, but was busy filming Speed and couldn't attend the Golden Globes. After Emma Thompson left, director Chen Cage and supporting actress Gong Li from the Farewell My Concubine crew came to greet her. This film was released in North America last October, distributed by Miramax Films, and has currently grossed $5.9 million, setting a record for the highest-grossing Chinese-language film in North America. Although The Wedding Banquet and The Joy Luck Club both grossed more than this film, Farewell My Concubine has entirely Mandarin dialogue and is set in China, while the latter 2 films have more English dialogue and are set in the United States. These 2 films can only be considered Chinese-language films, not Chinese-language films. Chapter 196 Award Ceremony. Even Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon and The Big Boss don't qualify. After chatting for several tens of minutes, the 51st Golden Globe Awards ceremony began. Founded in 1943 and hosted by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the Golden Globe Awards are one of the most important awards in the American film and television industry. The Golden Globes have 24 awards in total. 13 for film and 11 for television. The film awards are divided into two main categories: Best Picture, Drama, Best Actor and Actress, and Best Picture, Comedy Musical, Best Actor and Actress. Other awards such as Best Director, Best Supporting Actor and Actress, and Best Screenplay are considered together. Last year, Guest Pictures released 5 films. Although several films performed well at the box office, their artistic merit was not high. Only The Wedding Banquet received a nomination for Best Foreign Language Film. After more than 3 hours of judging, the winners were announced. Schindler's List, released at the end of last year, won Best Picture, Drama, Best Director, and Best Screenplay out of 6 nominations, becoming the biggest winner of this year's Golden Globes. Robin Williams' comedy film MRS. Doubtfire won Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy and Best Actor, making it the second biggest winner. Tom Hanks, for his outstanding performance in Philadelphia, beat out 4 established actors, Daniel Day-Lewis, Harrison Ford, Anthony Hopkins, and Liam Neeson, to win Best Actor, Drama. Winona Ryder won Best Supporting Actress for her performance in Innocent Days. Farewell My Concubine won Best Foreign Language Film. Haha, Link, it's been a while since I've seen you. I didn't expect you to be at the Golden Globes. Harvey Weinstein, carrying his trophy, walked through the crowd at the awards ceremony. Just dropping by with Monica. Congratulations on your award. Link shook hands. Haha, this is on their behalf. You know I don't need this. Harvey laughed and handed the trophy to his assistant. Last year, Miramax Films released 9 films, 3 of which were nominated for Golden Globe Awards, garnering 11 nominations. Farewell My Concubine, 1 nomination, The Piano, 7 nominations, and Blue, from the Three Colors trilogy, 3 nominations. Farewell My Concubine won Best Foreign Language Film, and The Piano won Best Actress in a Drama. It was a very successful year. Miramax Films and Harvey Weinstein were also among the focuses of the awards ceremony. Link, I heard your new movie is finished. When will the Butterfly Effect start filming? Harvey asked, sitting down in an empty seat. The new movie isn't finished editing yet. Production will take over a month, so we probably won't have time to shoot until April or to May. Okay, besides the Butterfly Effect, do you have any other film projects? Harvey Weinstein, smoking a cigarette, chuckled. You know, while I can't direct movies, I have some skills in public relations for film awards. I heard you want to win the Oscar for Best Director. If you work with me a few more times, I guarantee you'll become the youngest Oscar-winning director in history. That sounds great. I'm looking forward to working with you. Link nodded and smiled, then chatted with Harvey about the publicity for Pulp Fiction. The film was completed at the end of last year. Due to scheduling issues, the release was delayed until April. 2 weeks ago, Quentin Tarantino took Pulp Fiction to the Berlin International Film Festival and won the Golden Bear for Best Director. After winning the Golden Bear, Tarantino even brought a trophy to Guess What Pictures, waving it around in front of Link, like a fisherman who'd caught a big fish and wouldn't be satisfied without showing it off to his fellow anglers. However, Pulp Fiction received positive reviews during the film festival, garnering praise from numerous European media outlets. Miramax was confident in the film's box office performance and decided to increase its promotional efforts. Guess what? Pictures would cooperate with their work. After seeing Harvey off, Link took Monica to the party to congratulate Spielberg on winning Best Director, Tom Hanks on Best Actor in a Drama, Robin Williams on Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy, Winona Ryder on Best Supporting Actress, and the Farewell My Concubine crew. He also took the opportunity to discuss collaboration with the group. After integrating Machine Pictures and Triangle Entertainment, guess what? Pictures production and distribution capabilities had increased more than tenfold, making it one of the most powerful production companies in the independent film industry. If the group had any film projects that the Big 7 studios were unwilling to invest in, they could consider Guess What? Pictures. The group agreed. Although Guess What? Pictures was an independent film company, all 6 films it produced and distributed last year were box office hits, with total revenue comparable to that of the Big 7 studios. Guess What Film Studios is currently rich and powerful, making them a very good partner. This link seems really impressive. Even Spielberg, the great director, treats him with utmost respect. Zhang Fenggai, the male lead of the Farewell My Concubine film crew, looked at Link in the crowd. A Chinese man walking among a group of Western celebrities, wherever he went, those stars treated him with great courtesy, making him seem like a big shot. More than impressive, he's a kingpin. Chen Cage shook his head, looking at Zhang Fenggai. You haven't heard of Link? That can't be right. His film Paranormal Activity, which he directed and starred in, was also screened in art house cinemas in China. You haven't seen it, due to the subject matter. Of the 3 films Link credited as director, only Paranormal Activity has been screened on a small scale in mainland art house cinemas. The other 2, Buried and Final Destination, haven't been released yet, although 2 of them are available on pirated DVDs. Paranormal Activity? That's not exactly a great movie, shh. Keep your voice down, Chen Cage whispered. Artistically speaking, the film is rather average, but it did a high box office, grossing over $600 million worldwide, which is over 4 billion RMB. 4 billion? That movie, Zhang Fenggai had seen Paranormal Activity. The film was novel and the story was interesting, but it was still a low-budget film. That a single film could gross over 4 billion RMB worldwide, more than all the films released in mainland China that year combined, was unbelievable to him. Paranormal Activity was the highest-grossing film in North America in 1992, even surpassing Disney's animated films Aladdin and Batman Returns. Director Chen Cage was envious. If his film could reach 4 billion RMB, no, 400 million RMB, he'd be laughing in his sleep. Another male lead, Leslie Cheung, said. The Hong Kong newspapers say that Mr. Lam is very good at making money. At 22 years old, he's worth over 10 billion Hong Kong dollars, which is no less than the Lee family or the Fok family in Hong Kong. Over 10 billion Hong Kong dollars? Is that true? He's so young. Whose son is he? Zhang Fenggai looked at Lin Ke again. He had just thought that he was young, handsome and talented, but now he felt that he was shining with gold all over his body, and must be rich and noble. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 He's a big shot too. Gong Li smiled and said, he's not some rich kid. The newspapers say he was originally an orphan, adopted by an American couple and brought from Chengdu to the United States. Before he was 16, his adoptive parents divorced, his adoptive mother passed away, and he became an orphan again. But he's a genius, very smart. He worked as an extra on film sets for 2 years, learning not only acting but also filmmaking. His first film, Buried, was written, directed, starred, and self-financed, grossing over $70 million worldwide on a budget of less than $20,000. His second film, Paranormal Activity, grossed $638 million worldwide. His third film, The Blair Witch Project, had a production budget of $20,000 and grossed $320 million worldwide. His fourth film, Final Destination, released last October, is currently approaching $400 million worldwide. Hearing Gong Li's introduction, Zhang Fenggai couldn't help but exclaim in admiration, wow! Is that true? Wow, that's amazing, wow, every film is a huge hit. Besides, he's also an author. Have you read Interstellar? If not, I recommend you buy a copy. It was released at the end of 1992 and sold over 18 million copies worldwide last year. Many famous authors have endorsed it. He's also very good at investing in movies. Last year's blockbusters like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Wedding Banquet, and The Joy Luck Club were all produced by his companies. At the beginning of last year, his net worth was $400 million, and this year it will at least double, reaching around $10 billion. Gong Li seemed very familiar with Link's background, recounting it as if it were her most treasured possession. Tisk tisk tisk, Zhang Fenggai listened in astonishment, eventually becoming numb, his mouth involuntarily opening and closing. Leslie Cheung continued, last year, Link and Michael Ovitz, the boss of CAA, made a bet on which movie, Final Destination or The Sugar Trap starring Tom Cruise, would have a higher box office. They each wagered $72 million, $72 million, $72 million on each side. That's over 140 million, almost $1 billion RMB. Such a huge bet? My God, Zhang Fenggai snapped out of his daze. Who won in the end? Link won, Leslie Cheung laughed. Even though Michael Ovitz tried every possible way to boost the Sugar Trap's box office and spent a lot of money suppressing Final Destination, Link still won in the end. Now you know why those people respect Link, right? Zhang Fengkai nodded, indicating he understood. Link was a multimillionaire, talented, shrewd, and powerful figure. He was a big shot in Hollywood. It was normal for those stars to respect him. But when Link came over to discuss cooperation, President Xu and the others didn't seem very enthusiastic. Am I mistaken? Zhang Fengkai glanced at Shuqi, the overseas distributor of Farewell My Concubine. Shuqi shook her head and smiled wryly. It's not that they weren't enthusiastic, it's that they didn't dare not. Zhang Fengkai was surprised and puzzled. Shuqi said, you just heard it too. Link made a bet with Michael Ovitz and others, and won. Michael Ovitz is the owner of CAA, the most powerful person in Hollywood. He can practically control everything in Hollywood. Even the presidents of the 7 major studios have to give him some face. And Link has a terrible relationship with him. Also, guess how fast the film industry is rising? Last year, its total box office revenue will probably surpass several of the 7 major studios. This will inevitably arouse the hostility of the 7 major studios. Cooperating with him is equivalent to standing on the opposite side of CAA and the 7 major studios, and will also be targeted by both forces. The pressure is too great, so it's better not to get involved. Among the filmmakers here, it's not just me. The others don't really want to get involved either. With our small stature, we can't get involved in the business war between these big forces. Zhang Fengkai listened to the explanation and gradually realized, so, it's not easy for Link to develop in Hollywood either. He could be squeezed out if he's not careful. Chen Cage said, that's normal. Hollywood is European and American territory. Link is a Chinese man, not to mention his huge business and the money he makes. This is like taking away someone else's cake. Shuqi nodded, that's true. It's not easy for Chinese people to do business in foreign territory. I hope he can persevere, Zhang Fengkai said, watching Link's figure. Guang Li blinked at Link. After the Golden Globe Awards, Link returned to the company to edit 7, preparing to finish it before March, and then began preparing for his new film, The Butterfly Effect. While editing, 2 big news stories broke in the entertainment industry. The verdict in Robert Downey Jr.'s hit-and-run case against Richard Gere was announced, with a court sentencing Robert Downey Jr. to 10 years in prison for intentional assault. Immediately afterwards, The Hollywood Reporter broke a big story. Dustin Hoffman seduced a married woman and was caught by her husband, beaten up in a bar. This incident was photographed by many paparazzi, and CAA couldn't handle the public relations efforts in time. Forced to respond, Dustin Hoffman publicly apologized and announced his temporary retirement from acting. These events originally had little to do with Link, but after Dustin Hoffman's scandal, many believed he had paid the media to expose the scandal as revenge against everyone in Robert Downey Jr.'s group, wanting to wipe them out. Around this time, a flood of negative news about him appeared in the media. Entertainment Weekly listed 6 sins against him. First, he was a director of trash films. Whether it was Barrett or Final Destination, they were all garbage films, lacking depth and artistry. His film's box office success severely disrupted the film market, driving out good films and preventing many good movies from making money. Second, he was a monster. He bankrupted Robert Downey Jr., Kiefer Sutherland, David Duchovny, and others. He seriously injured Richard Gere, and he ruined Dustin Hoffman's reputation. He was ruthless towards every enemy, and his next target might be Tom Cruise, Michael Ovitz, and others. Third, he was a playboy. Some media outlets claimed that after becoming rich overnight, he became extravagant and dissolute, owning more than 10 properties and having affairs with over 50 actresses. Fourth, he was an unlucky director, and his films were equally unlucky. Starting with Paranormal Activity, every film he made caused accidental deaths among audience members. Final Destination even caused 2 plane crashes, bankrupted Robert Downey Jr. and others, and severely injured Richard Gere, suggesting his films should be banned. Fifth and sixth, there were claims that he sexually harassed young actresses like Liv Tyler and Angelina Jolie on set, and developed relationships beyond friendship with many male actors. These tabloid stories were shameless and spread widely, forcing him to take them seriously. Have you found out who's spreading these rumors? In the company's coffee shop, Link sipped his coffee and read the day's newspaper. There weren't many negative stories about him in the major newspapers, but there were many in tabloids and magazines. These smaller publications were mostly shell companies with short lifespans, making it difficult for the legal department to find a target for prosecution. Furthermore, spreading rumors cost money, and widespread rumors cost even more. After the bankruptcy and disabilities of Robert Downey Jr. and Richard Gere, there weren't many people with the power to spread rumors about him. Who would be his opponent this time? John Gordon said, "Boss, according to our investigation, these small newspapers and magazines have cooperated with many entertainment companies, including CAA, WMA, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox, Paramount Pictures, Miramax Pictures, Castle Rock Pictures, New Line Cinema, etc. Sometimes they help promote movies, sometimes they praise actors and create scandals for them. We are still investigating which aspect of this attack against you, and we cannot give a precise conclusion yet." Link frowned. This situation did sound very complicated. Link, I suggest you start with the opponent's purpose. If they want to smear you, they must have some purpose. Is it to damage your personal image, your movies, or suppress guest pictures? Figure that out first, and the investigation will be easier, said Agent Sam Haskell. Link nodded. In the past 2 years, he had made a lot of money in Hollywood and offended many people. This includes specific individuals such as Robert Downey Jr., Richard Gere, Tom Cruise, and even Michael Ovitz. It also involves the 7 major film studios, CAA talent agency, and entertainment industry capital. Further investigation is needed to determine who is targeting him this time. Then continue investigating. It's okay if we can't find out clearly. As a director, a slightly tarnished reputation won't have a significant impact, boss. Don't underestimate these rumors. Recently, the rumors have been very targeted and widespread. If they continue to spread, it will be very detrimental to your personal image. I suggest that after you finish editing the film, you take some time to do media interviews. Use mainstream media publicity to salvage your reputation and also promote your new film, suggested Liu Xiaoli, the public relations manager. Link thought about it and accepted the suggestion. Chapter 198 The Mastermind. Alright, don't be sad. In the Paramount Pictures president's office, Shirley Lansing stroked Tom Cruise's cheek, wiping away the tears from the corners of his eyes with her fingers, and gently comforted him. The media is watching him now, he won't dare to do anything to you anymore. Besides, there's been a lot of negative news about him in the media lately, his reputation is ruined, and it will be difficult for his next movie to get the support of fans. Once his movie fails, he won't have the energy to deal with you. Tom Cruise looked up and asked, "Did you arrange for the media to do these negative things?" "I don't need to arrange them. Link's performance is too outstanding. The 7 major film studios have already regarded him as a worthy opponent, and also an unpopular person. They only need to release a little information, and their media outlets will take the initiative to change their stance when reporting on Link's news, and report more negative news about Link." Shirley Lansing ruffled Tom's hair and smiled faintly. Tom Cruise's eyes lit up. "You mean the 7 major film studios are planning to join forces against Link?" Last year, Guess Movies performed strongly, surpassing Disney and MGM in total box office revenue, ranking 6th in the industry, and among the top 3 in net income. A company established only 2 years ago, its annual revenue is in no way inferior to the 7 major studios. If this momentum continues, Guess Movies might surpass the 7 major studios and become the most profitable film company in Hollywood. Shirley Lansing, speaking, couldn't help but think of that young, handsome Asian man. Although a competitor, his talent and management skills made it undeniable that he was a very outstanding and charismatic man. Tom Cruise excitedly said, "Guess Movies is performing too strongly, taking market share that originally belonged to the Big 7 studios. So, the media groups behind the Big 7 are having their media outlets report negative news about Link to damage his reputation? But isn't this too mild? With the power behind the Big 7 studios, they could easily bankrupt Link and Guess Movies, making it impossible for them to continue operating in Hollywood. The Big 7 studios all have parent companies, including Time Warner, Viacom, News Corporation, and Sony, whose major shares are controlled by Wall Street capital. These capitals control the entertainment and media industry in the United States and the world. If they joined forces, they could easily crush Link with a little manipulation." Tom Cruise didn't understand why they didn't do that. Simply using tabloids to damage Link's reputation seemed to have little impact on him. Shirley Lansing shook her head. "First, you need to understand one thing, capital is profit-driven. Capital will flock to whichever sector can generate profits. Link and guess who movies are currently the most profitable places in the Hollywood film industry. Those entertainment capital firms want to acquire guess who movies and Link to make more money, not destroy Link and guess who movies. Otherwise, no one will profit, and that doesn't fit the growth model of capital. It's just that Link is hoarding the pie and unwilling to share it with others, which has undoubtedly angered the entertainment capital firms. Those firms will put pressure on Link through their subsidiaries to make him give up some good stuff. If Link insists on not sharing, the capital firms will intensify their efforts and may even consider destroying him and guess who movies. Tom Cruise nodded. Link is too greedy, Shirley Lansing said. Besides being greedy, Link is also a smart man. He proactively collaborated with Columbia Pictures, New Line Cinema, a subsidiary of Time Warner, and Miramax Films, a subsidiary of Walt Disney. This also led to investors being unwilling to unite in suppressing him and become his open rivals, preventing Link from choosing one side and rejecting another when seeking investment in the future. This is also a result of competition among entertainment capital. Link understands this, which is why he dares to play both sides among the 7 major film studios. However, guess what? The film studios are performing too well, and there's too much of a pie in the pie. If he continues to hold on to the pie, those people on Wall Street won't let him off the hook. He's walking on a burning rope. HMPH, I hope he falls off the cliff soon and is smashed to pieces, Tom Cruise said angrily. Shirley Lansing rubbed his hair and smiled. While they were chatting, the assistant called to say that CNN was broadcasting an interview with Link. Shirley Lansing had reminded the assistant before, and she would remind her after the program aired. Shirley Lansing took out the remote and turned on the TV. On the TV, Link was sitting on the sofa, talking eloquently. He was wearing a dark casual suit, with a neat hairstyle, firm eyebrows, and a straight nose. He looked very mature and had a lot of masculine charm. Shirley Lansing, watching Link on TV, suddenly realized that Tom Cruise wasn't so handsome after all. Link, can you talk about your love life? I read in the newspaper yesterday that you have over 10 girlfriends and have been linked to over 30 actresses, including Monica Bellucci, Jennifer Connelly, Brooke Shields, Sofia Coppola, and so on. When I saw these news reports, I was incredibly envious, no, I should say jealous. I think it's not just me, any man would be jealous of you after seeing this news, CNN host Larry King chuckled. CNN is a cable news network under Turner Broadcasting System, currently independent of any media group, and its news reporting is relatively unbiased. Larry King is currently the highest-paid talk show host in the United States, earning $12 million annually, and his show, Larry King Live, is one of the highest-rated television programs. Link chuckled, yes, being linked to so many outstanding women would make any man jealous, including me, including you? Those news reports are fake? Link, you should know I've worked in television for over 30 years, interviewed thousands of celebrities. Most people can't hide a lie from my eyes. Larry King pointed to his eyes, then to Link. A burst of laughter erupted from the audience. Link, feigning nervousness, sat up straight. Looks like I have to tell the truth. Yes, Link, be honest, are you a playboy? If so, I need to advise the girls watching on TV to be careful of you, don't fall for you. Larry King's face hardened, his tone becoming serious. The audience roared with laughter again. That's the charm of a stand-up comedy master, whatever he says, even if it's not funny, will elicit laughter from the audience. Link shrugged. It's all fake news. If you don't believe me, take a good look at me with your magical eyes. My words can definitely stand up to scrutiny. Larry King pinched his chin, squinting as he stared intently at Link, as if giving him a brain CT scan. The audience burst into laughter. Larry, are you done with your examination? Lunchtime is approaching. Link glanced at his watch. I really can't tell you're lying. You've passed this test. So, can you tell us who your girlfriend is? I'm single. A chorus of hisses rippled through the audience. Larry King scoffed, disbelieving. Okay, it's Monica. We started dating in early '92. It's been 2 years now, Link said, shrugging. He's lying, Tom Cruise said. I saw him at a bar with Jennifer Connelly last time. They seemed very close. This guy is definitely not a good man. Shirley Lansing shook her head. Link is a billionaire, worth over $1 billion. Having a few women is perfectly normal for him. Tom Cruise frowned. Should we arrange for the media to interview Jennifer Connelly and the other women, and get them to expose Link? It's useless. Link has given them enough benefits to keep them in the dark. To persuade them, you'd have to offer even more, and be prepared to fail, Shirley Lansing said. Tom Cruise thought of the previous bet where he invested millions of dollars to undermine Link, only to lose everything. Another bet would be disastrous if he lost again. Thanks to reader Retention Riceworm for the generous donation. I'm so grateful and have no way to repay you. I'm adding an extra chapter as a thank you. Happy New Year, may your wealth multiply 100-fold, and may all your wishes come true. Chapter 199 Television Interview. On TV, after discussing the rumors, Link and Larry King continued talking about his bet with Robert Downey Jr. and others, including the reasons, the process, and the amount involved. These events had been repeatedly reported by the media after the bet, so they weren't exactly a secret. Link didn't hide anything and gave a brief overview. Link, you said when you bet against Robert Downey Jr. and others, you didn't know how many people were on their side, or that Michael Ovitz was involved. You still dared to bet $72 million? Weren't you worried about losing? Larry King leaned to the side and lowered his voice, saying, I heard you have a good relationship with Lady Luck. Did she secretly tell you that with her around, you're guaranteed to win this bet? Ha ha ha. The audience was amused again. Link shrugged and chuckled, I wish Lady Luck had said that to me, but unfortunately, she hates gambling and won't bless those who gamble. There are 3 reasons I dared to take this bet. First, I have enough confidence in the box office performance of Final Destination, a confidence built on the box office data of Buried and Paranormal Activity, so it's reliable. And Robert Downey Jr.'s bet, The Sugar Powder Trap, doesn't seem like a blockbuster like Jurassic Park based on its pre-release publicity. Second, in the 2 years since my debut, I've made a lot of money through movies and investments. When I'm short of money, every penny is precious, but once I have enough, money becomes just a string of numbers. Even if I lose tens of millions, it won't affect my life or the company's operations. Third, I'm too young and easily provoked. Before the bet, Robert Downey Jr. called me several times to ask if I dared to bet, and if not, to publicly admit defeat and apologize. I didn't want to admit defeat, and I didn't want to apologize, so I took the bet. Looking back, my decision was a bit impulsive. While he was answering questions, Larry King scribbled on a card. After he finished, Larry King asked, Link, you said you were confident in Final Destination and didn't think the sugarcoating trap would surpass Final Destination at the box office. But after Final Destination was released, you did a lot of promotion, including forming a band to promote the film. Total Cinema magazine said that without the death band's promotion, you might have lost that bet, so your confidence doesn't seem so strong. Good question. In prison, Robert Downey Jr. watched TV, excitedly pumping his fist. After drug rehabilitation, his complexion was noticeably better. That bastard was obviously talking big. If it weren't for all that promotion, which helped Final Destination earn tens of millions more at the box office, he would have definitely lost that bet. The newspapers said you also spent money, tens of millions, so why didn't you win against Link? A fellow inmate asked. Robert Downey Jr. scoffed. If it weren't for that trashy band helping Final Destination rake in over $20 million at the crucial moment, we definitely would have won. There's nothing wrong with using a band for promotion, right? Many singers who transition into acting also hold concerts to boost ticket sales. I heard you guys paid for entire theaters to increase ticket sales. That's cheating. Compared to you, Link using a band for promotion isn't even a problem. Haha, Robert, you guys lost to Link not because you were unlucky, but because you were too stupid to think of a better way to promote the film. The other inmates chimed in with their opinions. Robert Downey Jr. opened his mouth to retort, but couldn't find a good reason, so he could only glare at the television with a dark expression. On the television, Link said, when we held the internal premiere of Final Destination, I predicted a box office of around $180 million. After The Sugar Trap was released, I predicted its North American box office would be around $150 million, with a maximum of $140 million within 15 weeks. However, after 15 weeks, it surpassed $200 million in North America, which definitely put some pressure on me. Because of this, we had to allocate more funds to film promotion. Forming a band to promote the film was one of the plans proposed by the distribution department. Besides this plan, we had several backup plans, so even without the Final Destination band, we would have used other methods. The effect might be slightly less, but surpassing The Sugar Trap shouldn't be a problem. The main reason is that Final Destination has a strong audience base. People like watching it. The Sugar Trap might be stronger artistically, but its audience base is weaker. This is the fundamental reason why Final Destination's box office surpassed The Sugar Trap. Clap, clap, clap. The audience applauded and cheered. So you guys are Link's fans. I thought you came for me, Larry King said, feigning jealousy. Ha ha ha. The audience burst into laughter, and a middle-aged woman even shouted, Larry, I love you all too. Larry King smiled and continued, Link, you just said your movies have a large audience base. Everyone loves your films, which is why each of your movies is a box office hit. However, recently there's been a widespread rumor in the media that your movies are prone to causing ominous events. For example, before the release of Paranormal Activity, the same thing happened in Merida, and after the film's release, there were rumors that many people were scared to death by the movie. After the release of the Blair Witch Project, there were also many accidental deaths. And then there was Final Destination, which was associated with even more accidents, including the Minnesota plane crash, Rivers' accidental death, Richard Gere's serious injury in a car accident, Robert Downey Jr.'s imprisonment, and several audience members experiencing accidents shortly after watching the movie. It seems your movies are prone to causing bad things. Currently, many people believe these rumors, especially those who believe in the existence of gods and demons. What do you think about these rumors? Larry King paused, looked left and right, and said nervously, actually, I was under tremendous psychological pressure while interviewing you. I prepared all this beforehand before I dared to sit here. Larry pulled out a cross and a crystal bottle, telling everyone that the bottle contained holy water. Ha ha ha, the audience roared with laughter. Link said helplessly, Larry, please believe in science. Okay, I'm sorry, Link, I have to do this. Your movie has caused more than one accident since its release, many times, so many that I can't help but believe. And I'm getting old, I have to make some preparations in advance. I hope you can understand. Larry King made the sign of the cross. Link shook his head. These are all rumors. Every year, over 200 films are released in North America, and over 2 million people die for various reasons. If you were to link their deaths to the films released on those days, almost every film would cause many deaths, which is obviously impossible. The logical connection between them is very weak and cannot withstand scrutiny. The reason my films are considered to easily cause ominous events, even leading to accidental deaths, is mainly because several of my films are thrillers, which have a large impact and realistic plots, making it easy for people to associate them with terrifying events in their surroundings. In addition, my films have performed well at the box office, outperforming those with good reviews, which has also aroused hostility from many people. They use various methods to discredit my films, and the rumors you mentioned are also part of those rumors and should not be believed. That sounds somewhat reasonable. Larry King nodded, hesitated for a moment, and then put the crucifix and holy water away. The audience couldn't help but laugh at his action. Chapter 200 Financing Plan. That cunning fellow, at the Death Star building, CAA's headquarters, Michael Ovitz watched Link on television, his expression complex. Ron Mayer, smoking a cigarette, said calmly, we definitely underestimated him. Michael Ovitz snorted, his face darkening further. Before participating in the bet, he knew Link, young, intelligent, wealthy, and capable, but had never taken him seriously, never considered him a rival. So, participating in the bet was purely a spur-of-the-moment decision, a casual game. Considering the quality of The Sugar Trap and Tom Cruise's fame, none of them thought they would lose. But after The Sugar Trap's release, influenced by The Wedding Banquet and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, he became arrogant and anxious, making a series of irrational decisions, including repeatedly raising funds to promote The Sugar Trap and suppress Final Destination's box office. This led to his ever-increasing investment in the bet. In the end, he made a fatal mistake, losing to Link and his Final Destination. This resulted in him, Ron Mayer, and several important CAA clients losing hundreds of millions of dollars. This indirectly led to Richard Gere's serious injury and disability, Robert Downey Jr.'s imprisonment, Dustin Hoffman's reputational damage, and even affected the work of CAA's flagship client, Tom Cruise. CAA suffered a huge loss this time. Looking back, Michael Ovitz regretted participating in the bet. If he hadn't participated, he wouldn't have lost so much money. If he hadn't continued to increase the stakes after the bet started to boost the box office of Sugar Trap and suppress Final Destination, he wouldn't have had to invest so much, the losses wouldn't have been so large. Robert Downey Jr. and Richard Gere wouldn't have clashed, and Tom Cruise and his associates wouldn't have been affected. Michael Ovitz felt increasingly remorseful. Michael, Link has already established himself in Hollywood. Guess what? After successfully releasing 7 films, it has become increasingly powerful, becoming the strongest company in the independent film sector. I suggest proactively improving our relationship with Link. Having another potential collaborator is more beneficial to CAA's development than having another competitor, Jay Maloney said. Michael Ovitz knew Jim Walto was right. CAA was an agency whose profits came from a share of its clients' film salaries and production costs. This business model required them to maintain close relationships with film studios. From a company perspective, improving relations with Link and Guess the Movies was essential. But from a personal standpoint, asking him, Hollywood's top figure, to actively befriend Link, someone who had caused him and the company significant losses, was something he couldn't do. Restoring relations with Link is indeed necessary, Ron Meir said. Link likes to use new actors in his films. Not working with him won't affect him much, and his films generate a lot of buzz and launch many stars. Working with him will benefit us more. Michael Ovitz took a few deep drags on his cigarette and nodded. On television, Larry King continued, Link, I heard your 3rd film has wrapped. What's the subject matter? Can you give us a hint? Link replied, a thriller involving religion and crime. John Milton mentioned the 7 sins of Christianity in Paradise Lost: gluttony, greed, sloth, pride, lust, envy, and wrath. This film is based on these 7 sins. And its thriller level is no less than the previous 2 films, a crime thriller. I have a bad feeling that something bad might happen again after this film is released, Larry King said seriously. Larry, trust science, haha. Link, how about we make a bet? If you lose, you buy me a drink. Larry King laughed. I'm sure I'll win, Link said, laughing and bumping fists with Larry King. Larry King continued with other questions. After finishing his CNN interview at noon, Link went on to participate in interviews with The Hollywood Reporter, Vanity Fair, and CBS, discussing the film Bet and his disputes with Robert Downey Jr. and others. Some rumors and gossip were clarified, but the effect was minimal, and malicious news reports continued to appear in the media. During this period, Link received investment applications from several investment firms, including CAA, Time Warner, Vanguard Group, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs, all giants in the financial world. Link understood that Guess the Movies had become a hot commodity in the eyes of Wall Street capital. The recent negative news in the media was likely related to these investment firms. Continuing to refuse would probably cause a lot of trouble and delay his filmmaking. Link called a meeting with several senior executives and decided to accept the financing, but with a valuation of $500 million for Guess the Movies, not the $220 million offered by Wall Street. Since everyone was optimistic about Guess the Movies, it meant the company's shares were valuable. Doubling the original valuation seemed reasonable. $500 million, Michael Ovitz frowned upon hearing the offer. Link, are you kidding me? Columbia Pictures has been around for over 70 years, released thousands of films, and its market value is only $3 billion. Guess why a film company would ask for $500 million? Michael Ovitz was not only the founder of CAA Talent Agency, but also a broker in the financial world. He had used his resources to help Sony acquire Columbia Pictures in 1989 and to help Panasonic acquire MCA, the parent company of Universal Pictures, in 1990. Now, he was hired by Leading Capital to discuss financing with Link. However, Link seemed unwilling to accept financing and wanted to continue to monopolize the business, which greatly displeased him. Link chuckled, a film company's market value isn't determined by how long it's been established, but by its performance. Guess What Films has been a box office hit since its inception, with every film generating thousands or even tens of thousands of times the revenue. Last year, its revenue even surpassed that of the Big Seven studios. This shows that Guess What Films' earning power is no less than that of the Big Seven. My offer of $500 million isn't much, it might even be too little. Besides, do you know how many people have wanted to invest in Guess What Films since the end of last year? 127, including individuals and investment companies. This shows that Guess What Films has enormous potential and may grow into a major film group comparable to the Big Seven in the future. Investing in Guess What Films now is a very worthwhile investment. It would be a pity to miss out. Comparable to the Big Seven, Michael Ovitz gave a dry laugh. Link, I'm seriously negotiating with you, and I hope you're serious too. Michael, you're a Hollywood veteran, and I have the utmost respect for you. I'm not joking with you. To be honest. Guess what's worth $500 million right now, and we plan to increase it to over $1 billion by the end of the year. If you want to invest in Guess What's Worth, you'd better act soon, or you might miss your chance. Link leaned back in his office chair and chuckled. $1 billion? Not a bad target. I'll think about the financing. I'll let you know in a couple of days. Michael Ovitz snorted coldly and slammed down the phone. He had proactively called Link to discuss cooperation, giving Link a chance to reconcile, but Link didn't appreciate it. Well, then he shouldn't blame him for being ruthless. Michael picked up the phone and called Leading Capital, proposing to continue suppressing Guess What's Worth and forced Link to back down. Link had no roots in Hollywood and definitely wouldn't last long. Leading Capital was the most powerful entertainment capital in Hollywood and a major shareholder of film companies like Warner Brothers, Disney, and 20th Century Fox. If Leading Capital is willing to suppress Link and Guess the movie will be doomed. Boss, is this the right thing to do? In the office, Lee Uzieli looked at Link with concern. Recently, there have been many rumors in the industry that Guess the Movie Pictures has made too much money, attracting the attention of the 7 major film studios and Wall Street capital. These forces are preparing to join forces to take over Guess the Movie Pictures. Under these circumstances, Link not only doesn't intend to compromise, but also plans to make a profit from the capital side. She is very worried that the Wall Street capital giants will abandon negotiations and use other methods to deal with Link. Don't worry, we still have many chips, we won't lose, Link said confidently, flipping through the newspaper. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.